a very big smile. And please, we would like you to please come forward. Please fill up the seat in front as we're about to start right now. So please fill up the seat in front. Please, ma'am, I'd like you to please come forward and fill up the seat in front. So before we start, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our excellencies. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Honorable Moruf Akinderu Fatai, the Honorable Commissioner for Housing, Lagos State. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of Barrister Barakat Odunuga Bakare, who is a special advisor to Lagos State Governor on Housing. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my name is Elizabeth Musa and I'm honored to be your MC for this occasion. Today we are gathered with industry experts, we're gathered with industry leaders, and we're gathered with policymakers, and we'll be discussing the challenges and the opportunities present in Nigeria's real estate sector. I do hope that at the end of today's event, you will leave here with transformative ideas. You will leave here with ideas that will change the face of and the demand that the ever-increasing population of Nigeria faces. So very quickly, without further ado, I'd like to welcome the phenomenal editor of Business Day, Mr. Tayo Fagbule. He will be representing the publisher of Business Day, Mr. Frank Aigogun, as he gives us the welcome address. Please make him feel welcome with a round of applause. Thank you.
Very much, Elizabeth. Thank you all and welcome once again. My job is very easy and not to waste your time so that we can get to the matter of the day. But I want to thank you all, especially the Honorable Commissioner, the FM, and to the Governor for being prompt. I think it's exemplary and it's a sign also of how serious they take us and how seriously they take their jobs. Thank you very, very much for being on time. And it's not, I was also saying on the fact that we have the Honorable Commissioner and also the SA to the Governor on real estate here. Lagos is a unique place, very unique place. While the talk most times is about Japa wave, and I think there's an underside or there's a story to Japa that we're not also realizing. The biggest Japa wave is not really from the shores of Lagos or Nigeria to Canada or Australia. It's actually internal. I tried to do a quick check this morning. How many people arrive Lagos every morning? And the number goes from 600 to 12,300. So the numbers are not known. So obviously Lagos is a magnet and will continue to be a magnet, especially because of the evolution of what we're going through with the economy. So the same reason that driving people to leave the shores of Nigeria for Canada, Australia, and the UK is the same reason people are leaving their own cities, their towns and villages, the rural areas, and the number one place for them is Lagos. And what does that mean when people move? The demand for housing, demand for real estate. And we're already seeing it play out, even in those popular destinations for Japa that we know about. Canada is going through a serious housing crisis. Australia is going through a serious housing crisis. And the UK, we see those videos on social media where people are staying, people who've relocated, and then they find they don't have a roof over their head. It's a serious problem. And that's why we're here today. It's one of the reasons why we're here today. And that's just to underscore the importance, as I said, that there is also internal Japa going on. And that also comes with its own challenges. But as a business paper, we don't see challenges and cry. We see challenges and say, where are the opportunities? What can be done to address this growing and surging migration that will, from the rural areas to the urban areas, that will lead to a demand in housing? How do you solve for that problem? We're seeing a lot more demand for education because some of our brightest people are the ones that are leaving. So universities here are also being set up. You're going to see a lot more demand for student housing. You're going to see a lot of demand for commercial real estate housing. Office. How do you navigate all of that. That's why we're here today. As I said, I am not an expert, but mine is just to basically set the tone and let us know what direction we have. We have more than enough within the room of experts. We have 3 panels. We have people with expertise. We have the Honorable Commissioner who will tell us how Lagos State is leading in this vanguard. We also have the SA here. She will also share with us their experiences and best practices so that we all can live here. I can guarantee you one thing, that you will live it. Because when Business Day has its events, some things happen. We bring those who are in the business itself, those who regulate or who make the policies in that business, and then of course those who benefit from that interplay. And when all those 3 are in the room, a lot of good happens, a lot of magic happens, a lot of learning, a lot of insight comes out, a lot of knowledge that you take away happens. So I welcome you all, very, very warm welcome to you for daring the topic of Lagos, being here on time, and I hope that your being here will have rewarding as we hope and intended to be. Thank you all, and do have a wonderful celebration.
Thank you very much, sir. Once again, please give Editor at Business Day, Mr. Tayo Fagule, a round of applause. Without any further ado, I'll now make welcome for the keynote address the Honorable Commissioner for Housing, Lagos State, Honorable Moruf Akinderu Fatai. But before he comes up stage, I'll be reading his bio very quickly. Honorable Moruf Akinderu Fatai currently serves as the Honorable Commissioner for Housing in Lagos State. He was born on January 6, 1965, and he attended Ikeja Grammar School and the University of Ibadan, where he obtained a BA Honorable in Archaeology. He furthered his studies in law and obtained a higher certificate in law from the University of London in 2015. With a background in international studies from John Hopkins University, Washington, D.C., he entered politics as a special assistant in 2001 and later served in various capacities, including as a Federal House of Representatives member. Honorable Akinderu Fatai is known for his impactful legislative work, and he currently focuses on housing development in Lagos State, aiming to address the housing deficit and provide affordable homes. Beyond politics, he is a philanthropist, he is a devoted Muslim, and he enjoys sports and reading. With a very big round of applause, I'd like you to please make welcome Honorable
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and Special Advisor to the Governor, Housing, Pastor Bakari Odunuga. I want to say we are very, very delighted to be here today, and it was great pleasure and a sense of purpose that I stand before you today at the Business Day Property Investment Conference, Prinvest 2024. This gathering represents not just a convergence of minds, but also a measure of opportunities in dynamic real estate. Our theme today, navigating real estate dynamics, balancing rural to urban migration, population growth, and economic impact, strikes at the heart of the challenges and opportunities that define our existence across the African continent. Nowhere is this thing more apparent than in Lagos, Nigeria, where the convergence of rural to urban migration, rapid population growth, and economic dynamism shape the landscape of real estate and urban development. Across Africa, urbanization is accelerating at an unprecedented rate pace, fueled by rural to urban migration driven by aspirations of economic prosperity and improved living standards. As rural population flock to cities in search of employment opportunities and better amenities, the demand for housing and infrastructure surges, reshaping the real estate landscape and presenting both challenges and opportunities for sustainable development. According to the UN Habitat, Lagos State is the smallest state in Nigeria with a limited land size of 358,862 hectares, which stretches along a coastline of about 180 kilometers. This represents approximately 0.4% of Nigeria's territorial land area of 923,773 square meters, yet has the highest urban population, which is 27.4% of the national estimate. The Lagos population is growing 10 times faster than that of New York and Los Angeles. Its population density ranks among the highest in Africa, with a growing population of about 25 billion inhabitants. Of this population, the metropolitan part of Lagos accounts for over 85% on an area that's only 37% of the land area of the state, reflecting the magnetic pull of the city for millions seeking economic opportunities. Despite its modest land area compared to the vast expanse of land in southwest Nigeria and the entirety of the country, Lagos State exerts its disproportionate influence on Nigeria's economic and social fabric. The gross domestic product of Lagos underscores its economic significance. Serving as Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos contributes substantially to the national GDP with 26.7% of the nation. Public arts. Lagos State remains the economic, financial, and commercial nerve center of Nigeria and ECOWAS. Regionally, our gross national product (GNP) is 3 times that of West African countries, of any West African country, thus making Lagos State ECOWAS economic hub and a springboard for innovation and development in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. However, the economic idea of Lagos also fueled a steady stream of migration from other parts of Nigeria. On average, thousands of people migrate to Lagos area, drawn by the promise of employment, education, and prosperity to access services. This influx of newcomers adds to the still vibrant tapestry, but also strained infrastructure and resources. The phenomenon of rural to urban migration poses both opportunities and challenges for Lagos. While it fuels economic growth and cultural diversity, it also aggravates issues such as traffic congestion, housing shortages, and environmental degradation. As our population swells, so do the complexity of ensuring equitable access to affordable housing, basic amenities, and economic opportunities for all residents. According to the data by the UN Habitat, approximately 70% of the population of Lagos currently live in informal settlement. Yet, amid these challenges lie opportunities for innovation, collaboration, and sustainable development. We must harness the power of strategic urban planning investment and policy reforms to strike a delicate balance between accommodating urban growth and preserving the cultural and natural heritage of our city. Moreover, the economic ramification of this reform cannot be overstated. Real estate serves as strong indicator of economic vitality, reflecting the health and flows of market forces and investor sentiment. In Lagos, where the pace of development is relentless, understanding this economic impact is paramount to making informed decisions and driving sustainable growth. It is essential to note that the real estate sector has the power to shape not just skylines but also lives, offering solutions that transcend bricks and mortar. From affordable housing initiatives to green infrastructure projects, our collective endeavors can redefine the future of Lagos and beyond. Having said this, I want to note that the issue of housing is central to the development plan of Lagos State. Being the economic hub of the nation as well as one of the fastest growing megacities in the region, Lagos State consider its strategic policy to move. It is a strategic move to pay particular and deliberate attention to the vision of housing. For this reason, housing is addressed fully under the pillar of building 21st century economy, which forms one of the 16+ agenda of Babajide Sanwo-Olu administration. Making decent home available to citizens is actually a passion for us. This is particularly fueled by our desire to ensure that the basic human necessity is made accessible to everyone, particularly those who need it most. In line with this pledge and mandate, the state government under the Able administration of Babajide Sanwo-Olu has delivered 19 schemes in various parts of the state. This scheme backed in addition for over 5,000 units to the Lagos State housing stock, catering to desire homeowners within all income levels, some of which were allocated at discounted prices of 3.5 to 10 million to the low and middle income groups, while attending to the needs of the high income individuals as well. By this, our policy is there to favor first-time homeowners. This category of residents can either access home through direct purchase or via convenient home ownership plan tagged rent-to-own scheme. The scheme is based on a 10-year monthly payment plan to single-digit interest rate with initial payment of 5% total cost. The resident having met the minimum condition will gain access to the homes. This project, achieved by the Ministry of Housing, Lagos State Property Development, and joint ventures with private investors, have brought about livable communities that are added values to the lives of many people. In addition to the ones delivered, there are still other schemes that are virtually ready and waiting with the wind to be released to the people. In summary, Lagos State stands as beacon of urban vibrancy and meets the tide of rural to urban migration to Nigeria. Despite its limited land area, it remains the powerhouse of economic activity and cultural diversity, shaping the trajectory of the nation's development. As migration continues to reshape its landscapes, Lagos must adapt and innovate to sustain its position as a thriving metropolis. The way forward. First and foremost, we must prioritize inclusive urban development that cater the diverse needs of our populace. This entails investing in affordable housing initiatives, upgrading informal settlements, revitalizing neglected neighborhoods to create vibrant, livable communities for all residents, irrespective of their socio-economic background. Furthermore, we must leverage technology and data-driven insight to inform our decision-making process and optimize resource allocation. Embracing smart solutions such as digital mapping, urban analytics, and predictive modeling. This will enable us to anticipate and mitigate the adverse impact of rapid urbanization, while unlocking new avenues for sustainable growth and development. Additionally, fostering public-private partnerships and incentivizing responsible real estate investment will be pivotal in driving inclusive economic growth and fostering job creation. By streamlining regulatory frameworks, promoting transparency, and encouraging environmentally conscious development practices, we can create an enabling environment for investors to thrive while safeguarding the long-term interests of our city and its residents. While we embark on this journey together, let us remember that our actions today will shape the landscape of tomorrow. Let us embrace the complexities of our environment with positivity, with open minds and unwavering determination and let us forge partnerships that transcend boundaries, propelling us towards a future where real estate serves as the catalyst for inclusive growth and prosperity. In closing, I extend my gratitude to the organizers, sponsors, and participants of this conference for their dedication to advancing our industry. May our deliberation fruitful, our connections meaningful, and our vision unwavering as we navigate the ever-evolving dynamics of real estate in Lagos and beyond. Thank you for your attention. God bless Lagos State and God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner, for the wonderful work you're doing to address the challenges of housing in a bustling city like Lagos. Once again, please give him a big round of applause. For our next keynote address, we will be welcoming Barrister Barakat Odunuga Bakare. She's a special advisor to Lagos State Governor on housing. But very quickly, I'll read her bio before she comes on stage. Barrister Barakat Olaomi Bakare was born on March 10 in Surulere, Lagos State. She hails from the Oshodi royal family. She was educated at Mainland Preparatory Private School and College of North East London. She holds an LLB from the University of Bedfordshire, UK, and an LLM in International Commercial Law. She's a former APC councillor as she served as leader of the Surulere Legislative Assembly and contributed to the party's success in the 2023 general election. She passed over 27 bylaws to improve living standards and revenue generation. She advocates for women and youth inclusion in governance, and she was appointed the special advisor to the Lagos State Governor. With a big round of applause, please let's make welcome
Good morning, everyone. I'll beg to start with the established protocol without acknowledging my brother, my co-pilot and housing company, Honorable Commissioner for Housing, Honorable Maruf Akindero for time, and also to say thank you for extending the invitation to invite us. We're delighted to be here, and it's an honor. I'm delighted to join relevant stakeholders at this year's Business Day Prinvest Conference 2024 themed Navigating Real Estate Dynamics, Balancing Rural and Urban Migration, Population Growth and Economic Impact. Rural-urban migration is a major phenomenon in Nigeria, as well as in other neighboring countries. This has become a recurring development because of the search for greener pastures by those living in rural areas. Lagos State, among other states of the Federation, is hit most by the challenge of rural-urban migration, being the most developed and cosmopolitan state in Nigeria. Lagos is seen as a city where the pasture is green, and as such, every Nigeria is from all parts of the country wants to make a home here in the center of excellence and the city of aquatic splendor. Reports have it that more people live in cities than rural areas, so every year, millions of persons living in rural communities migrate to the urban cities within their countries or across borders. These people move to seek opportunities, improve their lives, and force them to flee due to conflicts or natural disasters. Migration can be beneficial when well managed for socio-economic development, but can be detrimental if as such migration becomes treated or properly managed. Urban life is usually attracted to rural dwellers for some reasons, ranging from availability of job opportunities, education, standard of living, as well as the fast-paced modern technologies, among several other reasons. There are factors influencing rural-urban migration, such as social, physical, demographic, cultural, communication, urban orientation, and modernization. The growing population in urban areas is advantageous in boosting economic growth, as well as providing an inexhaustible target market for all industries and brands to flourish in their respective businesses. The sector that feels the heat of rural urban migration most is the housing sector. The housing deficit in Nigeria has been enormous since the 1970s due to the number of people that troops to rural urban areas annually, especially Lagos State. Lagos presently boasts of a population growth of over 22 million people, and this comes with increased demand for accommodation in the real estate sector and other amenities in the state. The real estate sector in Lagos State has State has the potential to thrive and be accessible locally and internationally, with the state government's involvement through the establishment of Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority (LASRERA). One of the intentions of the state government, apart from bridging the housing deficit in the state government, is to curb the rate of reported cases of fraudulent and unscrupulous practices. Lagos State government in order to save the lives and residents, both at home and those in the diaspora. Let us support Lagos State government for the enforcement of the Lagos State Real Estate Authority and the organizations operating in the sectors.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barrister Bakare, for that beautiful keynote address. It's always beautiful to see women flourishing in governance. And well done also for advocating for women inclusion in governance. Once again, a very big round of applause for Barrister Barakat Odunuga Bakare. Thank you. So at this juncture, we will now be taking our first panel, and I'll be welcoming our moderator and our panelists. But first, I would like to introduce this panel. Our first panel is on urban migration dynamics, the strategies for sustainable real estate development. And this panel will be moderated by business stage journalist, Miss This panel will be moderated by business stage journalist Miss Kemi Michael. A round of applause as she comes up stage. Oh, quickly, we'll be taking a group picture. We'll be taking a group picture before they leave, so I'd like them to please be patient with us as we take a group photograph. Welcome, Kemi.
Good afternoon, everyone, or morning. It's so cold in here. I feel like I'm already in Canada, but I mean, I'm not migrating anytime soon. Welcome to Prinvest. I'll be handling the first panel. Development. Now, while I introduce my guests, I would like to call on stage people that are supposed to take the pictures. Okay. All right, so let's go straight into it. First off, our first panel, I'm hoping that everybody is available because I would really like to get into this discussion. Now, our first panelist is Mr. Are Adetola Emmanuel King, the Group Managing Director of Adron Homes and Properties, and he's going to be represented by the Group Director, Bureau of Legal Affairs. Please let's give him a round of applause. Or her rather, Ms. Shola Orumuyiwa. Please let's give her a round of applause. And our second panelist, our second speaker, has garnered over 2 decades of experience across Africa and Europe in marketing, market expansion, revenue optimization, and strategic planning. Now, with an MBA from Alliance Manchester Business School, United Kingdom, he is known for his expertise in investment, development, and asset management. Now, let's welcome on stage Mr. Tola Akinsuleri.
Yes,
Let's give him a round of applause. Now, he is the Chief Commercial Officer of Mixter Africa. And our third, last but not the least, panelist is going to be joining us to speak on this topic, urban migration dynamic strategies for sustainable real estate development. Now, who we can say is a wealth of knowledge. Now, he is quantity surveyor Bamidele Mafilitio. Let's give him a round of applause. And apologize for that disruption of your day. All right, let's get right into it. Just can I have a second mic up here? You're welcome. You're welcome, everyone. And let's go straight into it. Now, this session is going to be focused on urban migration dynamics and the significant role it plays in shaping real estate development strategies, especially in rapidly growing cities. Example, Lagos. As more people move into urban areas, the demand for housing and commercial spaces increase, leading to both opportunities and challenges for sustainable development. Now, for my first question, I'm going to be directing the question. Should I direct it, or are you going to pick who is going to answer? Okay, I will pick. All right, now our first question is on urban migration trends and how it has become an economic and social issue in Nigeria today. Now, how exactly do these trends influence real estate development, and what key challenges and opportunities do they present? I'll be directing my question to Ms. Shola Orumuyiwa.
I would say that let me start with the opportunities. First off, which is no. So I'll start with the opportunities, which is more housing needs, that's housing demand. That's very key, that's the norm. Secondly, you have a ready market, so that no matter how many real estate developers that we have ready market available. And then we also look at the area of the ready market, then the area of making sure that the cost advantage, you have cost advantage in terms of you can play with your cost, in terms of you can bring your cost lower to gain competitive advantage over your competitors. That's another opportunity that you have. And then you can play with, you can introduce off-plan sales also to bring in the housing development. Then when it comes to the issue of challenges, we're going to look at challenges in 2 different areas. Challenges on the part of the migrants, and then challenges on the part of the developers, the real estate developers. For the real estate developers challenge, some of the challenges are, we have issues with land acquisition, ready land available. Here in Lagos, we know that where we have land right now is on the axis of Badagry, Ibejuleki, Epe axis. So with that, we can't really play with options in terms of premium estate options, because if you have a market demand for maybe central of Lagos State, Surulere, for instance, where my senior colleague is from, you know that you may need to go into redevelopment, not just fresh or virgin purchase of land. And then when it comes to another challenge that we can also look at is the high cost of building materials, which is really affecting real estate developers right now. It's been a very major topic in the REDA, that's our professional body association. It's been a very major topic to us. And then we look at the issue of project financing. We know that some real estate developers need to get funds to execute their project. Coming to the aspects of the migrants now, the first thing that comes to mind naturally is cost. That's access to funds. Access to funds. And then I was looking at, I'm so happy that our first speaker, our Honorable Commissioner, made mention of rent-to-own initiatives of Lagos State. And I will also, Honorable Commissioner, sir, I will pledge with us, Lagos State government, to encourage private developers' involvement. Because if you don't remind us that you have this initiative available, we have the access to the target market. We have these clients, these prospects that come to us. So if you can try and see if you can partner with private developers so that we can really encourage and grow this initiative, sir. That's for that. Then also, when we look at another challenge for the migrants, it's unparalleled cost, I can call it that. They don't have options, limited options to choose from, in the market. So that we know that people play with prices, play with cost of housing or even rentals. So they don't have that choice. Just okay, this is what I want, and that's what I want. Then the issue of unemployment comes into play. The issue of unemployment of these people, of this set of people that are migrating into the urban areas. So I think for me it's in two ways. Just need to look at it in two ways and look for solutions to the problem.
All right, thank you very much. Now, speaking about financing, I know that you have been able to finance several causes, and Mr. Tola, you've been able to finance several causes when it comes to development of real estate. Now, how exactly has that been? What has been the struggle in those areas?
Okay, thank you very much. I think first and foremost, the beauty about everybody in this room is that almost everybody in this room understands the problems that we all face every day. When you literally have to negotiate whether you are speaking with a financial institution. Interestingly, a couple of weeks back, I was speaking with another developer, and he sort of gave me what you would call like a slap on the back of the head, saying, you guys are the big developers. You can basically walk to the banks, and the banks will basically say, okay, let's do something with you. We, the small developers, nobody likes us. Everybody hates us. We basically want to go to the garden to eat worms. But really, I think we need to look at solving this problem in a different direction. We all have the same problem. So, saying how we've been able to solve it on a piecemeal basis, I don't think that should be the approach that we should look at it. So, the problem of funding projects is a general problem across the industry. So, what are the opportunities that we have as a collective that we can actually change the narrative? The biggest providers of capital still represents the bank. But of course, we all know that at this point in time, if you want to lend from a bank, you're basically looking at rates over 20%. But are there opportunities whereby we can come together as a collective, for example, as we did, whereby we can actually drive policy? For example, the CBN recently raised the cash reserve ratio to give or take about over 40% recently. Are there opportunities? Now, the way in which I look at real estate as a significant catalyst to the economy. We are all familiar with the value chain. Once you start a real estate project, it creates at least 5 to 6 jobs, whether directly or indirectly. So that means if we can convert, for example, Lagos State to effectively a manufacturing project site, you basically are going to create multiplier jobs. So is it possible for us to actually collectively, as practitioners within this industry, actually make presentations to the government and like, look, you have opportunity for you to actually stimulate growth. Everybody's complaining about the problem we all have in the industry. I mean, the economy. Employment is difficult, etc. Real estate can be used as a catalyst. So I'm not really just going to be speaking in terms of what we've been able to do. Yes, what we've been able to do may not align with what every other person is doing because, yes, we're a bigger real estate player. And so, for me, I look at it in terms of what can we do on an industry basis. So looking at, for example, the cash reserve ratio that the banks currently keep, is it possible for us as a collective to actually push something that allows the banks to be able to use that part of that cash reserve ratio to use it to invest in projects for real estate? And it's still going to be a commercial transaction. It's not, we're not saying we want to get free money, but we're simply saying that, look, you provide capital at a rate which is going to stimulate economic activity, not at your 20-25%. I mean, I love what the commissioner was saying when he said that Lagos State has delivered over 5,000 housing. But let's look at the numbers. Nigeria currently has a deficit of about 28 million housing units. I bet you know the percentage that will probably be in Lagos State. If we are saying in Lagos State we delivered 5,000, that means there's still a whole chunk of people that have not been able to access housing. That means if we can push this sort of initiative that allows every one of us to be able to play at different scale, we'll not be able to access that capital to be able to do the project that we really want to achieve, the kind of impact we want to within the economy. That's the way which I would address it, not looking at strictly what we've been able to do, but try to move the industry forward in terms of what can we do as a collective and actually change the narrative, not just for the big players, but for everybody within the industry.
All right, thank you so much for that one. And if that resonated with you, can you give me a round of applause, please? Now, my next question is going to be directed as quantity surveyor Bamidele. Now, what strategies can developers and policymakers implement to ensure that real estate projects meet the evolving needs of urban migrants and at the same time promote sustainability?
Thank you very much. There are a lot, because right now, all what we have had, there are a lot of challenges, particularly because of the increasing of the cost of basic materials. In fact, in the last 1 month, it was really alarming. Seriously. In fact, most construction farms has to even shut down. They are just picking up now. Because suddenly, around from February, the cost of iron, for example, started moving from 650,000 per ton, and it went as high as 1.8 million. It's just now that it's coming down to, as of yesterday, around 1.25, 1,250,000. Same thing, cement. Cement went as high as 15,000. Just yesterday, around now about 9,000. So, like I've said, we really appreciate this forum, the Property Investment Conference. It's involved partnership, both public and private, because we need to provide an enabling environment. How can all these basic material costs come down? One, we need to step up production. And what affects production is energy. Most people are crying, there's no power. In fact, as of today, is a NEPA that is back up. Generator is the main thing. And that's why the cost of things are going up, because they use diesel to produce. In fact, I was watching China yesterday when somebody, when it was one of the National Assembly members was trying to defend why the cost of cement, while other colleagues after of him. So, the main thing is, how can we help to all these things, government need to help, power, the cost of power has to come down, because when power can be done, a lot of things come down. So these are the things, the cost of materials. So these are the things that can assist in the production of housing. Because as I have said, there are a lot of things to look at. Also, I want to appreciate from what the Commissioner said. There are a lot of opening up of roads by Lagos State government. In Lekki, the road is almost completed to Ajah. they give kudos to our governor, and some other internal roads too have been up. So if all those things, because accessibility is another thing that is very key for people to bring their products easily and then accessible. So these are some of the things that we need, because basically to get more affordable housing, we need the price need to come down. Like my colleague have just said, 5,000 houses is just a far cry from 28 million housing deficit. We need, and the importance of building construction cannot be emphasized, because it's opened up a lot of things: employment generation, economic value, and so on and so forth. So that is why the government needs to partner with the private sector to see how can we make our construction sector booming again. And part of what we have emphasized is cost of material, cost of producing building material. We have a lot of companies producing their prices here and put it there. The question is why is the price high? Then on steel, thank God that the government is trying to revive back the steel. If those things can come down, it will help. And then all this translates to other things. Because when cement comes down, it affects concrete, it affects block work, it affects plastic, a lot of things in housing. It's dependent on cement. Also in iron, a lot of things are there. So cost of construction is just going up. And we need to bring it down, because people are not earning as much as these costs rise. If the cost of construction are going up by almost 300%, when the salary, the income has even remained stagnant in the past few years. So, we have a lot to do. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Now, my next question goes, well, I feel like we should decide who is going to do this. Now, the question is, in what ways can innovative technologies and design principles, for example, 3D printing, be integrated into real estate development? That's to address the urban migration. What ways? Who's going to take it?
Okay. I'm very, very careful when it comes to the issue of technology. There was once upon a time we were trying to do a project in another African country, and whilst we were engaged in conversation, so they asked us, so what are you going to use in terms of technology? Are you going to use technology to deliver the property in 6 months? And the answer I gave is, are the people going to pay me in 6 months? I mean, if you are not going to pay me in 6 months, so why should I use technology to deliver the property in 6 months? But having said that, I think there are some aspects of technology that we can actually leverage in terms of our development. I remember when I first bought my inverter. This was like, no, I will not tell you the year so that you don't start saying. When I first bought my inverter, the person who sold it to me asked me, do you want to have solar on it? I was like, solar, no, I don't need solar, etc. and things like that. And do you know the reason why? The cost of solar was so expensive at that point in time. Fast forward to now, literally almost everybody is doing solar with their inverter. The point here is this: there are certain technologies which we cannot incorporate into our developments at this stage, primarily because of the cost. But yes, there are certain technologies which we can incorporate. For example, I know some developers have started considering using alternative source of energy as part of their developments, instead of the typical thing of using generators as backup. Those are things which eventually reduce the overall cost of ownership for the infrastructure that you're handing over to the people. When it's clear that they don't basically have to fund the cost of diesel, etc. And now this is something that we have to think a bit further. The next thing I'm going to say is something we have to think. Don't you think we have to start considering doing vertical densification in Lagos State? Now I'm sure immediately I shoot that point to everybody. The first thing you are saying is that, if you get stuck in the elevator and later takes away the lights, God help you while you're inside the elevator. But that's all part of us being able to leverage some of the existing technologies. to be able to provide that level of security. Because the truth about it is that Lagos is a small piece of land. And if we think we're going to continue doing bungalow units, ground plus 3, ground plus 2, simply because we're trying to save cost on the elevator, I think we have to start thinking faster as developers within the industry. I'm going to take our minds back to something that happened in January 2016, precisely 7th of January. Doing today, you're basically importing the parts. If in the future I need to do maintenance, that means I need to wait for when you order it from wherever it is. The way in which I see some of these innovative technologies is that, look, until you get to the point whereby you actually have a local manufacturing assembly within the country, it's going to be difficult for you to roll it out on a mass scale. Because beyond just the initial delivery period, people think in terms of what's the cost of maintenance, how am I going to, if I need a replacement, how long it's going to take me to get all those things replaced. So I don't doubt the fact, like I said, we need to be future thinking. I don't doubt the fact that we will get to that point. And to get to that point, and I'm sure we all know that there are a couple of developments that people have actually introduced, but of course we know those developments are on the premium end. It's similar to what happened with inverters, solar panels. Initially, the only people who are investing in solar panels were people on the high end. Now, literally almost everybody can invest in solar panels. And so I believe that's the way it's going to evolve. The industry is going to evolve. We're going to get to that point in time whereby the market is going to be large enough to encourage someone to actually make that level of investment, to build a plant locally, so that not only are you delivering, but you're also able to guarantee maintenance of those properties.
Thank you so much. Now, for my next question is, what role does affordable housing play in addressing the housing needs of urban migrants? Ask the question.
For affordable housing, we can look at flexible payment options as an important role it plays in terms of real estate developers now have realized that you can't just build and say pay and then move in. You need to give these people options, and then time to gather this money to make their payments. So we have flexible payment options now in terms of encouraging affordable housing. That's one. And then also we look at the aspect of, let me call it shell homes. Shell homes in terms of affordable housing. Shell homes that, okay, we build, this series of apartments high-rise buildings, and then we can leave it at the shell level, and then allow the homeowners or the house owners to take their time to do the finishing of their houses. So we also use that avenue to encourage affordable housing. So there are so many opportunities or avenues that we can use to encourage affordable housing. And also, if we also look at what is now prevalent in the Lekki axis of Lagos, we have what we call the twin or split plots, where we encourage the duplexes where you just have shared walls. You have these buildings that just have shared walls. So we are maximizing space to provide more housing. And the in thing now that's really helping us, especially for land developers that buy land in Lagos State, because it's so expensive when it comes to land acquisition, is the high rise. Just like 5, 6, 4, 5, 6 story. For now, most of them may not have lifts like he said. Just have exercise. Yes. So, but it's really helping us to look into affordable housing for people. So you can have condos that condominiums, that have apartments for lease or for rent that people can easily move in. So the concept of if I own a house, it must just be me or myself or my family on that property. It's now being phased out. You now have everybody, you can still buy on the first floor or the second floor and still own that apartment or that condo. So that's the product.
Before I move on from you, yes, I would like to know who is to blame exactly for the final consumers happen to be the renters mostly than the house owners. And who is to blame for this over expensive housing lifestyle, more or less? Because I would say maybe it's the migrants, maybe it's the developers, maybe it's the landlords, but who exactly is to blame?
Okay, I would say first off we have target markets. We have preferences in terms of people's taste and lifestyle. So all these we look at as developers before we go into our type of housing designs or construction. So if we have a demand for premium housing, we go for it. And then also we also consider the low level now has now become lower level. So I don't know what to classify that as. So we also consider this level of income earners, and then we provide, like I said, most times what really makes housing expensive is the finishing, and this is coming back again to the construction materials. Finishing. We say we have tiles that are locally produced in Nigeria, the diversified tiles, but they are still expensive and they are in categories. So finishing matters, even though we try as much as we can to make it less expensive and still maintain value, for this housing. But when we go to this market to buy this material to finish the house, it comes at a very high cost. And we are in business, we also need to either pass or share the cost. So then we can say manufacturers, if we have the policymakers are here, if we have policies that kind of regulate these market prices, for us as real estate developers, I think it will go a long way, so that we know that okay, if we get a bill of a cost now, we prepare a bill of quantities today, we can work with that bill of quantities for the next 3-6 months without any change. But right now, that's not what happens. You can prepare it today, the next minute, you need to readjust that bill. So the manufacturers will also have the part to play.
All right, thank you very much. Now for our last question, and again I'll repeat, if you have any questions, kindly, he's waving his hand, so if you have any questions, write it in a paper and give it to him and I'll receive it. All right, for my last question, I'll be asking quantity surveyor, family. Now, how can real estate investors and developers contribute to creation of inclusive and resilient urban communities, and also existing challenges posed for urban migration patterns?
How they can contribute well, a lot have been said by the estates developers. Part of it is assisting, collaborating with government. Because there are a lot of things like I mentioned, challenges from the estate developers. You mentioned the increase interest rate. Brian mentioned 20%. As at today, it's about 30%. The interest rate is very high. And the environment mentioned during the discussion the cost of land. That's why the partnership, the cost of land. That's why government is moving up to the Lekki, to Badagry, to the area and all these things. So that people can be able to get affordable land. Now, for the developer, like I've mentioned earlier, part of the things needed is they need support in terms of how can we bring down the cost of building materials, because they perform the magic. They need cost of material to come down for them to be able to construct affordable housing for people. If not, like as mentioned, the cost of material only be effective. And then if government can open up, they can get facilities around which makes material to be brought there. But the main thing is still over around the cost of materials, the cost of building materials. So we really need to work on energy. I still emphasize it in producing, so that all these things can be mass produced. When products are mass produced and brought down, it will help the developers to be able to build cheaply. Because like she mentioned, truly, cost of things, hardly can you prepare a BOQ now in the present situation that within 1 or 2, 3 months you can beat your chest and say the price will maintain. In fact, in the last 1 or 2 months, it's really serious that you keep on revising. So these are the challenges. And on urban migration, what have been mentioned about the challenges of how to get houses, people to get affordable houses. It's very difficult. And you see that because of that are moving far. So people like areas like Lekki, and that's where we appreciate the governor. Transportation. Because if we have a good network of transportation, you can live far where they can be able to get accommodation cheaper and still move down to the urban center to work, like is done in developed cities. Thank God for the blue rail, the red rail, and all these things. So with all this, those are the things that can help, because the cost of living or cost of accommodation in the urban center is very high. There is no doubt. And we know all the factors. But that is why opening up into the various hinterland will help. We need good network of transportation to help producing cheaper building material. It will help, and all those things. So for the developer, we just need to partner together, because they can't, there is no magic they want to perform. They still go to the same market to buy this product. So you can't tell them, okay, buy it and then build it cheaper. The essence of coming to the market is for profit. Is for profit. So everybody, we need to collaborate. That's what I've just said. Both the developer, the government, and the private. We need to collaborate. All hands must be on deck to bring down this dollar and all the cost of materials, opening up and also. So all this together, I hope, one, because when you get the cost of land cheaper, the building material cheaper, and all these things, then you will be able to get cheaper.
Thank you very, very much. Now, I know I said that was my last question. I have one more question. Because you have all spoken about collaboration, about joining with both the private sector, the developers, the government, and all of that. Now, I'd like to know in what way, and my question is directed to Mr. taller. Yes. I would like to know, in what way, in your opinion, in what way can these collaborations happen? Because, I mean, you could say you can open a WhatsApp group where everybody will join, so you know what's going on with everybody. Yes, but how exactly can this collaboration happen?
Okay, thank you very much. I think one of the things I'd like to say with successive governments in Nigeria is the fact that most governments in Nigeria are open to working with the private sector. I think that's the first thing I'd like to get out of the way. The second thing which I also want everyone to realize is that being in government means you have a lot of monkeys that are jumping on your back every day. It basically means that every time you come to the government, you don't come to the government with a problem. You need to learn to come to the government with a problem and a solution. Now, so you've asked the question, how can we look in terms of collaborating with the government? What I've tried to do is, okay, so first when I answered the first question, I tried to talk in terms of the supply side, in terms of what's being able to get finance, something in which we can probably, as a collective, try to push forward. Now, I'm going to ask everybody in this house a question. How much do you consider is affordable housing? What price? What price? 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 Come on, let's see. So what did you say? I haven't heard anything. Everybody just So what did you say? 10 million. Okay. 10 million going once. 10 million. Anybody else? 15. Okay. So 10 million, 15. Anybody else? Sorry. 5 million. Good. So it's like everybody's moving in ranges of 5, 15. Now, can I ask you a question? The prices that you called, did you call them on the basis that you need to bring all that money out of your pocket? Now, supposing I ask you that if you had to pay that money over 30 years, how much do you think will now become affordable to you? You see, that's the way in which we need to start looking at affordable housing. It's not so much in terms of pricing of the property, but in terms of how people are able to pay. For example, let me give you an example. If you tell me that, look, I'm going to buy a 30 million property and I have 30 years to pay that 30 million, it becomes affordable, right? As against if you give me, for example, a 5 million property and you tell me that I need to pay it in 6 months, it's not affordable. And so, the way in which I look at us being able to create partnerships with the government, like I talked in terms of the supply side. Now let's even talk in terms of the demand side. The biggest problem for people is being able to bring out that cash to pay. So if we can find a way of extending the length in which they have to pay whatever the price of the property is, that means there's a possibility that a lot more people will be able to buy the property. Now, the biggest set of people that have money, that basically are just sitting on money, are the PFAs. At the moment, they have, give or take, about 17 trillion in assets. And about 60% of that is invested in government funds. That means they are already familiar with issuing bonds, etc. and things like that. And they basically are sitting on long-term capital. So that means if as a collective, if we can actually get, for example, the government to issue a particular instrument that is targeted at providing mortgages, that means effectively what you do is with that instrument, you have long-term money that is able to provide 20 to 30-year mortgages. You basically capitalize PMIs to be able to have funding, to be able to provide long-term mortgages. And then it no longer becomes a problem in terms of, how much are we about to sell the property? You know, His Excellency BRF said something once. I said, please show me where I can buy low-cost cement, and then I will deliver low-cost housing for you. And I know everybody basically, you don't like it, but that's the truth. We all go to the same market to go and buy everything, you understand? So really, it's not so, we don't have so much control about the inputs, but if you can find a way of, managing how people can actually pay, that's the other side. Now, in terms of collaborating with the government, like I said, it's very important. My company had the opportunity of doing an urban renewal project with Lagos State some years back. How many are familiar with the Oluwale urban market? Okay, that means all the people we go to ShopRite. Don't those people that go to Lagos Island, we know ourselves. Now, that was an urban renewal project which we did with Lagos State. Now, we came to the project, Lagos State was trying to redevelop. How many of you know about Oluwole when Oluwole was Oluwole? What was it about? Rough area, Ford certificates, etc., and things like that. Now, we came into that.
Fake passports.
Fake passports. Okay, I don't know about that. Now, the point here is this. For that project to work, we had to go into a lot of stakeholder management. Look, for example, you had the Oluwole families that were the owners of that land. You had your area boys there. You had the traders who are trading there. You basically had to manage every one of this. So, for example, like the Oluwole families, as compensation for wanting to build that project, we bought an apartment for every one of them in Shasha, LSDPC Shasha, and then we gave each one of them a shop within the development. For the people that were selling in that particular market previously, we gave them a first right of refusal on particular units if they wanted to buy. For the typical people that you basically had who are selling on the store, instead of creating just only your traditional stores where you had your big, we had your cake lamps, aka Iso. If you know Iso, you know Iso. The point I'm trying to make here is that as private sectors, when we go to meet with the government, we need to come with a comprehensive solution. And the truth about it is that we had to learn on the job. Fortunately, at that time, we had a lot of input from the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Housing, the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Fiscal Planning. They were very helpful in helping us to even navigate, how you have to deal with all different people, etc. and things like that. So, in terms of collaborating with the government, yes, we have to talk about how we're going to help the people that want to buy our products. We have to look at ways of making it easier for them. But at the same time, even when we come to present projects to the government, we need to make sure as much as possible we are doing the heavy lifting, because there are so many other monkeys that are basically climbing on the backs of the people in government. That would be my thoughts on that.
All right, thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause. Now let's move on to the question and answer segment. Okay, so we have several questions here, but I'll start with this one, I guess. This question says, what is the best solution with the present economy we find ourselves in? The cost to build material is so high and the salary revenue in Nigeria is not increasing. So what is the best solution in this present economy for migrating? Thank you. That's the first question. And this particular one is directed to Mr. Tola Akinsiri. Now it says, with the emergence of intelligent smart homes as a crucial frontier of digital transformation, how does the Nigerian real estate market secure global competitiveness, considering that we are still grappling with elementary issues, and this in line with the commitment of the Lagos State government to the 2030 smart city vision? That's for our second question. Let me just be done with that. And this one says, define affordable housing and how much is affordable housing. I believe you answered this. And for the last question, it says, how do we mitigate cost overruns in the real estate industry to boost urban migration and reduce the housing deficit in the country? All right, so our first question, I'm guessing you would answer the second one. Yes. And the best solution for present economy will be answered by our quantity surveyor. And for the last question, will be answered by Mr. Lambert. All right. First question. What is the best solution with the present economy?
The best solution where we find ourselves now. Well, first trace of things is we all have manufacturing, production is the main thing. Because as long as we keep on importing all these materials and the exchange rate is going up, well, there's nothing we can do. We need to think outside the box. How do we manufacture those things ourselves in the country? Thank God, if our steel industry can come up in Nigeria and the price can come down. We thank God also for all these minerals, solid minerals. We have a lot. We have a lot in this country. So some of these things can be used. We have both the natural minerals and so we just need to harness them. and then people to produce. One of the major fundamental solutions which I would prefer is production of building materials. If we can produce, and then there is the cost of energy can be brought down. I don't know how we can solve that moribund problem. It's a major problem in this country. Electricity. If electricity can be brought down and the cost of manufacturing can come down, a lot of people are springing up. You'll be amazed. Go travel along Ibadan, Lagos Ibadan Expressway, and a lot of factories. That's why my brother mentioned all these building materials. I don't want to advertise it. There are a lot of them along the stretch there. So, but their complaint is cost of energy. So if the energy can be brought down, the cost of manufacturing can be brought down, I think it will help us a lot. You can imagine today if the cost of cement crashes, if the cost of iron, someone was doing an that we are complaining. He said in the 70s, he mentioned that they are producing Nigeria, even including gas, Volkswagen, all those things in Volks there, and one in Pidot in Kaduna, oil palm in the east, cocoa in the west, many all these minerals we import, we export, and we earn good thing that our, as at 1980, Naira was stronger than dollar. But today, because virtually everything up to toothpick we import. We're talking about building materials. I can tell you for close to over 90 or 95% are imported. We are talking when we are talking technology, all those things are still imported. They are still imported. So because we keep on going up, the only thing is one, we need to produce. Two, we need to change our orientation. We too should like Nigerian-made products. We need to change our orientation so that we patronize our products, make, in the process, we'll be able to perfect and get the product more better. But when we don't, then the cost will keep on going up. So, solution is cost of production to come down, energy, and then thirdly, we should change our orientation, use Nigerian-made products. And then government was already trying, open up, so that if we cannot rent in the main Ikoyi, VI, if there's transportation system, you can stay in the Lekki, you can stay in when there is a ferry can bring you, or line, rail, and so on. So these are some of the things that can help us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's give him a round of applause. Now for our second question, directed at Mr. Tola. Do I need to? Okay. So the question says, with the emergence of intelligent smart homes as a crucial frontier of digital transformation, how does the Nigerian real estate market secure global competitiveness, considering that we are still grappling with elementary issues? And this is in the line with the commitment of the Lagos State government to the 2030 Smart City vision.
Okay, to answer that question, I'd like to take a different direction to answer that question. Now, there are four things that are important in the mind of anybody, any customer that you're dealing with in terms of buying a product, with your real estate. Number one, he hopes that that product is going to be able to. He hopes that that product, by buying it, he's able to save some cost, either in the cost of acquiring it or the cost of maintaining it. Number three, he hopes that Number four, he hopes that he's going to live a better life by having that product. Now, when I look at where we are in terms of what people are developing life cycle to actually create live, work, and play environments. What I mean by that is that, look, not only should we be developing residences within one enclave, we should have the opportunity of people to be able to work without having to go outside of that location, have opportunities for people to be able to play. So we need to incorporate that even into our development. So before we start talking about building as developers, I'm talking at it from the developer's perspective, before we even start talking about us building smart cities, intelligent monitoring system and things like that, I think we will need to first involve our development cycle to actually create simple live, work and play environments whereby people don't feel obligated to actually leave that residential enclave to want to go outside to do anything else. So yes, in terms of smart developments, and I'm sure you probably noticed, those things are few and scattered here and then, more of your premium developments. Like I said, we have a life cycle. People's lifestyle to get them to the point of being an environment whereby they can get everything they need for live, for work, for play, within the same small environment. They don't have to commute far away. Then we can start, from a developer's point of view, to start rolling up to doing all this smart city integration. I think from the government side, yes, the government might be able to introduce some of those monitoring. I'm sure you maybe drive past an outside anyhow. It will catch you anyhow like that, you know that. Do you understand? So I know that on the government side, they are introducing some of those things, but from a developer standpoint, there is still a lot we need to get in terms of the development life cycle before we start making it a mass scale. So yes, I agree. We're going to be behind for a while in terms of that, and I'm okay with us being behind whilst we deliver more value based on the current environment that we find ourselves in.
Thank you very much. Now, before we carry on, can I answer that? Okay. I just want to make an announcement. Before we carry on, if you're driving an AA391 GS, a black Jeep, you're blocking someone, kindly go and repark. AAA 391 GS, a black Jeep. Thank you.
Some years ago, some Commoner University students came up with an idea, and that's to answer the question of competing in international space. They came up with this idea. They were able to convert plastic materials as an alternative to blocks that are alternative to what we use for paved stones. Yes. So, and I tell you, when I saw that idea, which also got international awards, I was so impressed that we have talent within the country. But 3 years down the line now, that idea is just in the cooler. Nobody is funding, nobody is encouraging all these talents to come up for this alternative building materials production so that we can use. So for us to be able to compete in the international space, we need to encourage internal participation and ideas. People, when they bring it, let's fund, let's encourage and put it out.
All right, thank you.
Also, I just want to add something. The whole world also is also going green building. It's another way things can be brought down, reduce cost of energy. And go green, that is even in a design that we design so that we have less dependence on AC, on all these energy consuming things, products. As far as we have natural air is free and many things. So green building also can be alternative and all those things. So I want to encourage us on green building to embrace green building. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Now for the last question, and I'd like to wrap up quickly. This goes to you, Shola. It says, how do we mitigate cost overruns in the real estate industry to boost urban migration and reduce the housing deficit in the country? I think you just mentioned that now. Both of you just mentioned green buildings, and you two. I think we're done. All right, thank you very, very much. Now, before we wrap up, I would just like you to say just one sentence in wrapping up, just one sentence each. Thank you.
Okay. I think for me, the one sentence which I would like to give to everybody is, come up with solutions. It's simple. Come up with solutions. Don't whine about the problem. Come up with solutions. Thank you.
I would like to say let's create more access to this point for individuals and working class people. Let's create more access to funds.
Thank you. I will be directed to our commissioner and special advisor on housing that if government is doing great, Somolu is doing great, but if we can further reduce the bottleneck for people, developers, and private people that want to build. A lot of things that they have introduced, even just planned of recent, not only after going through all the approvals, all those things, LAFCA, now you need to pay LASA. You need to pay LASA to bring sideboard, do a lot of things. So it's just increasing the body. So we can reduce it as we are opening up the road. It's a good one. Yes, get people to be able to understand. As much as we can reduce the body a little bit for the people, it will help people to be able to build faster, get approval, and then bring down the cost. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the Commissioner would like to respond to that.
Actually, I think it's imperative for us sitting here as government to say some things, because from all the discussions, you see government coming up, and if we are kept quiet and just go away, to mean that we are just taking things away. Because we also need to let people know that they are just as he said. I'm very impressed. There are rules for government and there are rules for citizens. Yeah. And it is the citizens that people government. They are not bringing people from elsewhere to come and govern us. With this democracy, put them there. But just to say some things, that we also need to appreciate the fact that Nigeria, at a particular point, we have to face our challenges. If naira and dollars, if we have been bridging dollars since the period of Abacha, if you have connection, you buy at 22 and you sell at 70 from Abacha period till today. And the government came in and said, no, I will no longer do this. It's like you don't want to postpone that thing that will come up eventually. All you need to do between that period and now is to have the necessary connection with CPN, get your dollar, and go out there. And that has continually, even oil that we kept on talking about, is not the largest contributor to it. In the actual fact, when we talk about budget, that even people talk about, the real economy is actually operating mostly outside budget. So I just want to put that in, so that we also understand that part. Now when we talk about mortgage and affordability and just as you said, yes, what is the take away? I will take home for an average Nigerian worker. We should take if one of our schemes. The governor will always say for low-income earners, bring the price down. At times, up to 50%, 100%. We are selling a one-bed apartment in Odonosa today at 3.5 million. Yes, we sold because deliberately we use money we get from the high net worth individual to help the low-income earners. We sold the Gondo, 2-bed, 6.5. But it will even take with mortgage over 10 years, 5%, 6% simple interest rate. It will take a level 14 officer in the civil service to be able to afford that. So we are looking at all these problems, and we are talking about every day in government. How do we encourage? For instance, we have encouraged people that are building for the upper class. We are asking them to come into the low-income area, and some of them are yielding. We have projects in the Ibadan, we have in the Mota, that we encourage them to come in, so that, and we are looking at all the variables in terms of technology and the rest to bring the price down. Some banks are even approaching us now that they want to do mass housing and setup. We have New Hope agenda, and what government is doing just to collaborate. New Hope, the New Hope agenda is for housing, is
being driven by private sector, and that's the reality. So we just want to say that we should please be patient with government. There will be a government that will come on board and say, let us frontally attack this. So that means there will be pain. We can decide to postpone, just as we had before. If the government of today say we are no longer going to depend Naira, definitely we all agree if electricity is allowed to, you can produce if you want to produce. But what about the cost? How about how is it going to affect food pockets? And if you imagine that if it is so liberalized now that you can have your factory and you can run them cheaply by electricity on your own without even government. So, but we have taken those parts that we will continue to work on it, and we also always want this kind of thing so that you can put us on edge. And to answer your last question, what Lagos is targeting is a one-stop shop. So that you go into a place and all you need to do, and you see we have EGIs now that you don't have to come to Alausa before you do your. And we are live now. It has gone live. So we will continue to improve. We are not yet there, and we know that we have a lot of work to do. But I can assure you, what you have now is a thinking government, and government that is also ready to learn. And that's why we are here to also hear you out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, we have come to the end of the first panel. Thank you so much for being a good listener. And of course, let's put our hands together for my panelists.
To our panelists for that very brilliant session. I must say that this is one of the most interesting panels I've ever listened to. So a very big round of applause to our panelists once again, and our moderator as well. I have some exciting news for you. Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority has a stand at the back for any developer or real estate agency that wants to register their company in Lagos State. So there's a stand at the back. If you'd like to register your company in Lagos State, we have that for you. Very quickly, I'd like to welcome, to take a photograph, I would like to welcome the Honorable Commissioner for Housing, Lagos State, Honorable Moruf Akinderu Fatai, the Special Advisor to Lagos State Governor on Housing, Barrister Barakat Odunuga Bakare, and also the Editor of Business Day, Mr. Tayo Fagule, and also our gorgeous Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at Business Day, Mrs. Ijoma Uday, also Ms. Shola Orumuyiwa, the Group Director, Bureau of Legal Affairs, and also Mr. Tola
Akin Sulire, the Chief Commercial Officer, Mixta Africa, for a photograph, please. The CEO of UPDC PLC. Representatives from Adron Homes, representatives from Mixed Africa, representatives from UPDC, representatives from Bossy Ellis, representative from Locust Group, and representative from NIQS for a photograph. For a quick photograph. Please take it. Also, Mr. Benga Ismail, please, for a photograph, please. Very quickly. Okay, without wasting any more time, I'd also like to go straight to our next panel session. You agree with me that our first panel was very beautiful, insightful. They were able to answer our questions. So our next panel will just do much more than that. Our next panel is on navigating the regulatory landscape, addressing overpriced housing and taxation challenges in Lagos State. I would like to welcome our panelists for this session before I welcome our moderator. On this panel, we have Mr. Odunayo Ojo, the CEO of UPDC PLC. Please make him welcome with a big round of applause. Next on our panel is Ms. Oluwakemi Adeyemo, the CEO of Future Perfect Limited. Next on our panel is Ms. Jamila Fani, the Executive Director, Construction Kaiser Limited. Next on our panel is Mr. Benga Ismail Usman, is the Chairman, Lagos State Branch, Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers. Moderate this panel is Ms. Olamide Ologunagbe, the Business Day Company and Market Correspondent. Please make her feel welcome with a round of applause.
Good morning, everybody. I think I need to start break because that is mine. And the topic was the session, Ulapara. Good morning, everyone. My name is Olamide Oluwagbe, and I work with Business Day. And you're welcome to this panel session. So let's just get straight into it. So we're talking about overpricing housing in Lagos. I don't say Nigeria because I know that that's like a topical issue. Almost everyone will have something to say about it, especially in this Lagos state. Coming from everybody saying they are developing houses, and when you ask for the prices of this house, you will hear something that your paycheck for 5 years cannot carry. Can I get an amen to that? Okay.
So I think I'll go right into my first question. And I think my question will go straight to Mr. Ordinary. And my question, I know you're CEO of UPPC, and I saw your financials, you did very well, you got a profit. So my first question will go on the overpricing housing in Lagos State. Of course, you have built houses or homes across board in Lagos. And how has there been a challenge of where people come to say, oh, I need to rent this space, and you say this is the price, and they say they can't afford it, and you say, oh, this is what it is? Or is there like a payment structure, or is there a way to go around it to make it more affordable for people?
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and interesting topic. So, the first way I would like to answer the question on pricing is that price is an output of an interplay of factors. Right, so price is the result of interplay of factors. In economics, they will say price is a factor of demand and supply. And the last panel, I believe, did a lot of justice to the issue of why costs are going up. So prices are high, I have to admit that. But there's a reason why prices are high. The reason why prices are high is mainly because the input into what goes into housing delivery is also high. So the first way to tackle the issue of pricing is to deal with the issue of reducing costs. And I don't want to repeat what the previous panel have already said. The only other way I would like to approach this is that the housing industry is actually broken into different segments. So you have luxury housing, you have middle income housing, and you have low cost housing. And then below that, you have social housing. So social housing, I believe, is what many people think of when they think about affordable housing. These are people who on their own may not be able to afford the cost of housing because either their income levels are low, let's say the drivers, the cooks, people who earn low salaries. If you earn minimum wage in Nigeria today, which as of today I believe is still 30,000 naira, your hope of owning a home in Nigeria, even at 3.5 million, 6.5 million cost that the state is delivering is very, very difficult. So what we need to do is to ensure that over time, all the actors and all the players in the industry do what we can to start looking at reducing the cost of housing. And it starts from the land. Acquiring land is very expensive because the cost of infrastructure that goes into land is expensive. There's no cheap concrete, there's no cheap coal tap, there's no cheap interlocking taps. So we all have to do everything we can as players in the industry to make sure that we work together to reduce costs and then the price will follow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So before I proceed, my last speaker is around. Can we please welcome Mr. Benga Usman, the chairman, Lagos State Branch, Nigeria Institution of Ethics and Thank you. So my next question will go to, they've moved to, instead I have money, I have to maintain this for please, my rent. So my next question will go to Oluwakemi. So my next question is talking about the challenges investors face when it comes to housing, and of course navigating the harsh environments that we have currently. Inflation has been increasing, cost of everything has been increasing, and of course we saw that cement went as high as 15K, and everybody saying will come down, will not come down, and dollars more than doubled. So how has that been an issue in bringing in investors on board in the industry?
Thank you for the question. So, let me start off with what he said, that to drive your cost, that means the cost of inputs also has to flow. So investors are a little bit skeptical, although we try to, as much as possible, build investor confidence, right? Regardless, and like one of the speakers earlier on said, that when you have a problem, also come to a solution. So investors really want to come in, right? But one thing I also advise investors is that if you're coming in, try as much as possible not to repatriate your money. I know that may sound somehow to a lot of people, but make sure that you utilize your fund. Still within the country, because the person trying to repatriate your money, you're probably buying dollar at a higher rate, and that's the white house. Then when you just if they can come in with as if the funding can be as low as possible, then they have an advantage because earlier said that the more or the lesser the funding we have, I mean the cost of funding, the more the prices can go for, because there's a lot of factors, right, that determines how much unit cost of a house is at the end of the day. So if the funding is coming in at a minimal interest rate, let's say below 4%, I know that's like imagine, but I think it's doable. So there are some funding that's at that low, right? So if investors come in with those kind of funds and maybe make some productions en masse outside of the country and bring it in, since people are shouting about power, the cost of power and all that, I believe that will go a long way. So their funds will be, their investment will be secure, their profit will not be eroded, and we will also have a lot of houses that are affordable. Yes, affordable and relative.
So still on the affordable, being very relative. So how do you then determine the price tag? Do you determine the price tag based on ongoing current situation, or after the whole valuation of the whole thing and everything, that's when the price tag?
So I'm an advocate of before you invest, we don't prep up first. So before you invest, before you enter, have an exit. So if the T's are not being crossed and the I's are not being dotted, there's no point in investing in the first place. So you have to first of all be on paper, you have to punch your calculators and all that. And that is exactly what determines what the outcome or what the pricing will be. So for instance, one of the speakers earlier said, per ton of reinforcement went as high as 1.8 million. So if I'm working with that and I'm able to even secure at that rate all through the life cycle of the project, I can predict how much I'll sell. Right? So that determines how much I'll sell. And if it comes low and I'm still able to make one or two inputs and still value, well, I can choose to be fair to spread that cost, right, and have a reduced output cost. So it's a whole lot of gamut coming together, but you have to read on paper first before you put your money in any project or any activity at all. So if it's not adding up, then maybe you chill.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And my next question will go to Yoma. Yes. So my next question will be on the construction business. Where do you see it in the next 2 years? We know that we have seen a drastic change from 2023. The reforms took us by blow, and everything skyrocketed, and we know there has been some downturn in some sectors. Where do you see the construction sector in the next 2 years? Do you see it booming or do you see it declining?
Well, one thing for certain is that the construction sector will still be here. We have been here since time immemorial. We'll still be here for a very long time. But whether we'll be booming or not is a story for another day. Since COVID, that particular subsector of the real estate space took a real hit. Construction is easily the highest employer of labor in Nigeria, and I believe in most places, at least most developing countries, because we employ a whole lot of low-skilled people. We have a whole lot of people that are low-skilled input into the construction process. And then COVID came, we had to lock down. We had to, have people stay at home while the whole COVID process was being worked on. And then when it was time to resume work, it was about 15%, 15 to 20% of the normal capacity that we normally had that could come to work. Eventually, that was lifted. So the construction sector has been hit right from that point. And then the war in Ukraine now came up. The valuation of the naira is also, booming its head somewhere. Inflation is also, just making things so difficult. Now, when we have clients that were able to pay for the services that we're providing, we're now being referred to the quantity surveillance consultants, and it's all a whole lot of conversation going on before we can even come to a conclusion. By the time we come to a conclusion, the story has changed. Prices have gone up again. So we now start that process all over again because we have to be able to deliver, and we cannot deliver with nothing. Right? So in the next 2 years, I would say that things are beginning to look a bit more stable. The government is doing a lot trying to fix the exchange rate. I mean, to a large extent, yes. And we know that it's not even about fixing the exchange rate, it's about the availability of the forex in the first instance. So whether the rate has been fixed or not, we even have the rate to buy, or we have people that are willing to sell, let me say. And so we're going to be here. I'm not quite sure about booming, but definitely we're going to be in circulation. And like I said, despite the fact that cement has gone as high as 15,000 and now currently about maybe 10, 11,000, there are still clients that are invested in construction. The government is the highest client, is the biggest single client. We all know this, and the government is still constructing. There are still infrastructure projects that are going on. There is a whole lot of investment in infrastructure that is going on. Hospitals, bridges, all the roads, everything is being developed at the same time. So yes, we will still be in business. I'm not quite sure about our margins. Our margins have been declining for a very long time. We have been on single-digit margins for a very long time, and we're still going to be on single-digit margins because the availability of the jobs has dwindled and will be dwindled.
Thank you very much, ma'am. My next question will go to Mr. Binga. Sir, so I want to ask, when you tend to value a land, what are the things you first put in consideration before the builders now come and say they want to build, and when they build to the old set, and you now have to revalue, what are the things to put in place? Because I think that's the first thing first. Especially, let's take from the part where you're trying to build like a commercial house or residential house, and you have to value the land, and of course the project goes into it, and you have to value, then there's prices to say, well, this is how much the rent will be annually. What are like the first things to consider? Do you think that that thing is one thing that affects the price of the house in Lagos State?
Thank you very much. Good morning, I think. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, yes. Make sure everybody's still awake and can hear what we're saying. Before I answer that, I want to just drop two points that will get us thinking about what is going on. I'm not sure if any one of us saw the product from Elon Musk. A building that can be posted to you, and it's $10,000. That is 60 million naira. That's number one. Number two, there's a Chinese group that built 20 floors in 60 days. That is all true. We're hoping that in Nigeria they'll do that. Not in Nigeria, that this company will be here next year and will prove that in 60 days they can do that. Those are the things that will change and innovate the space that we're talking about. Now, going to the land and valuation. Now, again, see, land has no value. That's what I say. Land has zero value.
it means nothing. What is the point? If I go to a village, if I go to where I'm from, there's land I can pick up for 1,000 naira. What's the difference between that location and here? That's where we come in, to tell you what is going on. Where does it start changing? It starts changing basically from the first instance that somebody moves there, even if it's a mud hut. That's the first thing. Second thing is somebody decides to make a road, to make it accessible. That's the second thing. And I always tell people, when do you know something is about to happen? Always read the government tender. When they're going to build a road somewhere, start buying across the entire pathway where that is going to happen. Value starts increasing and changing immediately. And then you start counting the houses, the number of mud huts that are coming up. When the second man comes in there, don't waste time. The value has started going up. All right? So that's what we look at, and that's where we start indicating value. The issue is not so much about cost. It is about the land value. The same iron rod is what they used to build in Germany. It is not different. So the building cost is the same everywhere. It's just not viable to build it as an investor. But for me to live there, I will build it for my own purpose, but I cannot sell it. So in Lagos, or in the urban areas, Abuja, and in some parts of Port Harcourt, we have a market. So those costs and value, that's what the difference between cost and value comes in. Lagos is value. And that's what the difference is.
Okay, thank you very much. My next question will go to you, Mr. Okunaya. So my next question will be that recently we've seen that Lagos State has said that tenants will be paying house rent according to how much you earn. Do you think that is very possible? And you as an housing agent, would that be very preferable for you that the government pays you and the tenant pays into the pool that the government is trying to bring the resources from? Do you think that's possible?
All right, it's an interesting concept. You know, when you're in a free market economy, which I believe Nigeria is, we are not a communist society, not a socialist society. When you are in a free market economy, things like rent and price and value to a large extent is determined by, like I said before, factors of demand and supply. If government has houses and controls the supply of housing, government can do whatever it wants. Government can rent out houses monthly. They can fix rent at any rate. When you extend that to the private sector and to the open market, then you start seeing that directive falter. Rent edicts are not new. This is not the first time Lagos State is introducing rent edicts. I believe in the 90s, around 96, the rent edict law was passed in Lagos State. That was not very effective. And the main reason is that people who have raised financing, expensive financing, I must say, if you're going to go to the bank today, you're going to pay upwards of 20-something%. Inflation is at 30%. You know, even government is lending money at 20-something%. It is difficult to encourage an investor to come into this space and not be able to recoup their investment in a timely fashion. It will be counterproductive in my view. So rent edicts can be controlled when governments have a good stock of supply that you can control. But when you extend it to the private sector, it hasn't been effective. I don't think it will be effective. But it is not, in my view, controlling the market is not the solution. Because you have to allow the market function effectively. And I believe that's what this government is currently doing. Because we had a controlled pricing for petroleum products, we had inefficiencies, and that's why the subsidy had to be removed. Because we have an inefficient forex policy in the past, that's why the naira had to be floated. you can't now introduce such inefficiencies to housing as well, and at the same time try to solve the problems of the past. So I believe, all the actors have to come together and deal with the fundamentals of pricing and valuation in housing. And government, like you said before, has a role to play. A lot of the costs that go into housing it starts from how much you register your land. You have to pay registration on top of registration on top of registration on top of registration. And then at the end of the day, we still expect the houses delivered under that process to be low and be regulated in terms of pricing. So we all have to come together. I think, over time, this kind of dialogue can lead to solutions.
So you think that for now, the private sector will buy into it?
It's very difficult to encourage private sector to buy into it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. My next question will go to Joachim. So bringing in investors, let's take it home to where landlords say that you have to pay 2 years rent before they can give you your house, and issues around that. And do you buy into that, knowing fully well that you're trying to get investors into the real estate market and you're trying to make gains and profit from the business? Do you think that that is something that should be encouraged or discouraged? Because now we know that purchasing power has declined over the years. The salary cannot match up to what it is. Even food is like the most expensive thing right now. Not to now think of where to put my head. Let me first think out where to put my head. And do you think that that is why everything, or should I have scrapped up?
So if it's a government housing stock, then you can play around a few things. But if it is a housing stock supplied by developers, if it's housing stock supplied by developers, there is this is nothing that you can do. Again, an investor is in the business to make money. An investor is in the business, is in the sector to make profit. And you really cannot tell the investor that, hold off making profit. They would have to look at a lot of conditions surrounding the investment and how best to get that profit, or at least to get profit. So why some people say pay 2 years upfront is to cover for some previous expenses, right? There are no loans, as far as I'm concerned, permanent buyers. There are no loans for housing in Nigeria that is cheap, either for homeowner, either for the developer. They're not cheap anywhere. So we basically use other people's money, right? Am I speaking for the developer? So you use other people's money. So the faster you can remove the money, the better. Then we also have an economy where most people are not sure they'll still be on that job and higher in the next 5 to 10 years. So the developer is also calculating, so the developer is calculating how quickly can I get my money out. Someone who has an apartment building is looking at how fast for me to get profit and get my money out. So we really cannot say that, oh, don't take rent for 2 years. In fact, there are some areas that you either take it or you leave it. 2 years and no less. So what I think investors or people who are looking to rent can do is that make sure that your agreements are airtight, such that even if you're paying for 2 years, you know you are getting value out of it. And if you cannot do 2 years, have conversations around it. Not that, okay, you try, then in the process, you falter and you're having to go to arbitration and all that. So have all these conversations, build it into your agreement. A lot of people here, they do real estate without their lawyers, and I laugh. But regardless, make sure there is somebody watching your back, such that even if you're paying 10 years, ahead as a lease, so it moves from rent now to lease, and these two scenarios have different agreements around them to ensure that you're protected and you're also a good citizen of Nigeria, a good tenant of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So my next question will go to you, ma'am. Now, in the construction business, you talked about Tesla. I was going to go to that, and you said that the margins have just been very little over the years. Do you think that technology is one thing that can help boost that sector?
Oh, very much so. Technology, again, technology is a product, right? And at every point in time, there is, I mean, we keep on innovating, and that's why we are where we are today. But one thing that the Nigerian construction sector, or I would say that most sectors across, we pick technologies from other clients and we just bring it and we believe we can apply it to our own locality and think that it will work. Those technologies that we are bringing are solutions to problems that wherever it is we're getting that technology from, we're experiencing, and they came up with that solution for their own problem. We have to learn to begin to generate, to develop solutions to our own problems. For example, where these technologies are coming from, and I'm going to go to Mr. Benga's example of the boxable. That's what the Elon Musk house is called. It's a 2-bedroom apartment that can be layered over different levels, but in the very basic form, it's just a box, a 2-bedroom box. That product most likely has, no, not most likely, definitely does not have, it's not a concrete and mortar wall, because that is what works for our own tropics here. So if we bring in that product and we place it here, it won't stand the test of time because our weather will not support that kind of product. It's $10,000, yes, but it's $10,000 where it is produced. By the time it comes to Nigeria, just like Mr. Odunayo said, double taxation, double payments, we are paying at every point in time just to import that item. By the time it comes to Nigeria, I can bet you it is no more, it's not $20,000. And you can just give it a try because that is how the laws keep changing, especially when it comes to importing items. So most of these technologies that we bring in are technologies that are wonderful wherever they are working, but we need to begin to develop research, and we need to research more for problems that we have and then find solutions to that problem, to those problems. But yes, the part that technology plays in construction cannot be overemphasized. I mean, there's a whole lot that we're doing, starting from software applications. We have applications that now make the actual execution on site much easier. We have stuff like the building information modeling. Before we have our 2D drawings where we pick these drawings and then we take them to site, and then it's while we're on the site that we begin to meet most of the problems that should have been resolved on paper before coming to site. But when we build models, we are actually building a prototype of what that eventual product is going to be like, and then we're able to see, rather than getting to site and finding out that the entire lighting level is in the middle of the room rather than on the ceiling, we can actually solve that problem before we get to site, and then by the time we get to site, it's easier. And when you're able to deliver your project once, at first time, it's cheaper. I mean, it's not cheaper, but at least you can determine the cost. But if we go to site and we're having problems, we're having issues, we're having mistakes, you're building them at a more expensive point. And then if we're building for real estate developers, that eventually is carried down to the product buyers, and that makes it more expensive. Of course, that's not effective at all, and we try not to do that. We don't do that here. Anyway, yes. So technology does play a part. So when we start from the software app, we even have apps for monitoring progress. I mean, we have something called the Holo Builder. Holo Builder, rather than going to site, you look at this wall and then you determine whether it is 5%. You go to the other wall, determine whether it is 10%. Look at the ceiling, look at the entire progress of the site, and be subjective about what level of progress you have gone. We have these 360-degree cameras that can actually give you a good insight into what is happening on site at from a remote location. So I do not have to be in Yenagoa, for example. I can be in Lagos and I can determine what is happening on site and what kind of progress my workers are giving me on site. So that is also happening. But when we come to products like 3D printing, 3D printers, those are technologies that are very wonderful, and I see us using them in Nigeria. But one of the benefits of technology is to bring down pricing. That normally does not happen when it comes to Nigeria. So till we get to that point where technology is actually a solution to our own local problem, that is when the solution can now be scalable and be affordable, and then it will now be useful to us. But as long as it is not scalable, it's not affordable, and just a select few can use it, I can't really call that application of technology in construction. Because technology has to cut across. Thank you.
So my next question, I don't know if I should ask you or Mr. Gwenga about your. So still on technology. Of course, I remember growing up, a lot of us watched Windows, and of course went to lovers when they fight or they have issues, they run to one private place, and the house is built with like a container, and when you enter, it's like, it really looks really good. But of course, in Nigeria, we use the cement, the blocks, and all of that. Do you think that is something that we can invite to reduce the pricing?
Well, I'll tell you that we actually have those kind of buildings that you're talking about, because the only thing that comes to play in, or rather the major thing that comes to play is installation. We do have container houses. I think there's a container estate somewhere in Oniru. There's another one somewhere at Makupo area, thereabouts. Yes, we do have those. So please, when you have a lover speech, you can run to one of them and begin to cry. Yeah, I mean, they are very. There is also another one. There's another. I can't remember if it's an estate in Yaba. We have another one in Yaba. Yeah, so we do have container houses that are retrofitted internally. The biggest factor to work on is the installation. As long as you're able to insulate the walls and insulate the roof, you are moving right.
So what's the price like?
I wouldn't call it affordable because, like I said, affordable is relative, but it is. I mean, middle income can afford it.
Container houses. Well, it's I don't know if you contradicted yourself when you said the lots may not work here, because container houses are very similar to that, not just as heavy as what is being brought. So yes, the Dolphin is a refurbishment that's close to what a container house is. It's a package house as well. I think it's prefabricated, and what is in Makupo again is also done by BGC, the people that developed VGC, HFP, yes, that's it. So we have all of these different integrations. You see, the cost of everything we do is relative to the efficiency of the supply chain. It is where these things are coming from, how close is it to where it's being delivered, and where is it being manufactured. All right. So if we have been shipping in prefabricated products, and we're shipping it from, say, the US, it's a long distance ticket. If we're doing it from Ghana, it's a shorter distance. More if we're even doing it from Quebec, it's a more shorter distance. So it will cost less. So cost is a function of where it's being produced and how it's being supplied to where it is. I would say the cost of building, 70%, last research said 70% of what we put into housing building is out of Nigeria. Why is that? The biggest component of the superstructure, cement and block, is done here. Cement costs, I mean, we know what cement costs today. Why is that? So once we can change this variable, for me the biggest factor is land. There's not enough in Lagos for starters. And then we've heard about the cost of registering land in itself. So once we can deal with that and now deal with the elements of building, then we'll get close to what is affordable. There are two issues here. There's affordability and there's accessibility. We can't access the other factor of building, which is funding. funding is costly. We can't access it. So it creates its own problems. So all of those variables need to be tackled, and then we getting to where we wish to be.
Okay, thank you. Please, if you have questions, could you please note them down and send it to Mark that is waiting. Thank you. So I think I'll have one question this round. So, sir, to you. We've seen in Lagos State where Lagos State has pulled down some houses, being that they said these are Lagos State lands. And my question is, were they not surveyors or were they not people that first gave the license for the house to be built, went to the land and said, okay, this land is good. Then the project went on and the house has been there for over years, and all of a sudden the government wakes up and says, this land is not yours, it's for the government. Where is the problem from? The people or the government?
So thank you. I have a real life situation that's affecting me now. From here I'm going to a meeting to deal with a situation that Lagos State acquired land in 1969. And 50 years after, when you live your life and you're happy, and somebody comes to tell you that Lagos State acquired this land actually, and nobody knew. You registered it. So you've done all of those roads. And Lagos State have registered it. Unfortunately, the policymakers have gone. They registered it. It is in their land registry as sold by Mr. A to Mr. B. There is no Lagos State showing them. Alright? Then you come up, and it's true. I've seen the evidence that Lagos did acquire in 1969. But the information was not processed down the line to create the foundation that confirms that they have, they ought to have been. So I don't know if everybody knows what they call regularization in Lagos. So that's what it is. That situation that happens whereby Lagos has acquired land, you find out long after, and you have to go back and regularize it to the state. Now that's what also the community people, Molina said, you would have to come and pay extra to do your title that you sold it from there. So there's a lot of confusion in this in the system. There's a lot of work that the government needs to do to confirm certain things, and this creates uncertainty in the market and a high risk premium in doing development. Nigerians can go into those areas and take the risk, all right? But foreigners will not come into your market when they now say one little king can say the title is in question, and what do they do? So whose fault is it? I honestly don't know. But whenever I said that, you have to have a lawyer that will tell you where to go. When the lawyer fails, you go and move to God.
Thank you, sir. Question? Thank you. Okay. I had to wear my double lens because of the arthritis. So the question says, are there any side effects of the container houses in the long run?
Container houses are just like Sabina said, they are prefab houses. It's just a container being retrofitted. So as long as the installation is done well, for every service that's coming into the building, that is water, light, power, you have to have an ingress that is properly done and an egress where required, especially for water, wastewater or something like that. As long as it's properly done, properly insulated, you have all your joints sealed properly, I would say that you're going to have that house for a very long time. The lifespan of regular houses is about 50 years. You can have your containers for about 30 to 35 years. And then of course you have to ensure that there's regular maintenance, because houses have to be maintained. They live, so they have to be maintained. So as long as they are well maintained, you can have them for a very long time. Thank you.
So do you see the future of construction in that part?
There are container estates. There's a container estate. I remember. I know the architect that was on it. I don't want to call his name right now, but he has something along the expressway. That's where we. So we have container estates in Lagos that I know.
Thank you, ma'am. So, ma'am, any word you'd like to say to investors? Real estate is still booming, don't be scared, or what would you like to say?
Yes, I mentioned earlier that as an investor, you must see your exit before you enter. Then I also mentioned that your real estate creative and experienced clients are very, very vital. Very, very vital. Don't go into real estate, especially in Lagos. In Lagos, because Lagos is very vibrant. Almost everybody wants to put their money in Lagos real estate because they can exit, they can sell. Most developers here are building in Lagos. Why are they not building in their villages? It's because it's vibrant. So if you're going into any investment, your lawyers are you must have. And please, pay them well. Because the cost of paying a lawyer saves you a whole lot. And to speak to the demolition going on, so we've been asking, if truly you have a permit for that building, can you at least, we are Twitter generation, we like receipts, so let us see the receipts. We call the government, yes, government has a lot of blame to take, they also have a lot of work to do, they have a lot of aggregation to do, but investors also, so nobody's looking out for you, so you just have to look out for yourself. And the best way to look out for yourself is to be educated about real estate. Warren Buffett says, do not invest in what you don't know. So if you do not know about real estate, keep your money in your pocket. Your money is safer in your pocket till you know that, okay, I now have the confidence to actually invest. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, we have a question. This question says, a concept closely related to overpricing is price review. Considering the selling price of building materials and the cost of construction, should property developers who have sold properties off plan and collected money in full further increase the price of property while claiming for, okay, I think get that, while claiming for something like that, or okay, yes, force majeure. Okay, I'm trying to. Should I read that again? Okay. A concept closely related to overpricing is price review. Considering the soaring prices of building materials and the cost of construction, should property developers who have sold properties off plan and collected money in full further increase the price of their properties while claiming force majeure? Okay.
All right, it's a very interesting one because it's a live and practical issue that many developers are facing today. So it boils down to the contract and the sanctity of the contract. In most contracts, there's a clause called force majeure. I think that's what the person is alluding to. And what is force majeure in layman terms is something outside of your control. Something that was not foreseen is out of your control. You couldn't help it, and so it effectively ensures that you are no longer held liable for delivering what you have promised. So how does it affect developers and development? The first thing I would say is, as a customer, before you go and purchase the property, you need to do your due diligence. You need to know the counterparty, and you need to be sure that the counterparty is credible to the point where after you parted with your hard-earned dollars or naira, you do not come back later to start changing the terms of the contract, because effectively that is what it is. So when people sell off plan, you should check the contract and check that there are no loopholes where the developer can wriggle out of delivering because things have now changed. The reality now is that many developers who have sold off plan did not foresee this high rate of inflation. I mean, if you sold a property off plan as recently as November last year, and then in January reinforcement went up more than 100%, cement went up more than 100%, you have two options. You either just absorb the loss and say somebody has paid me in November and I still have to deliver, or you renege or you renegotiate, which is where the price review question is coming from. As developers, we take our covenants very seriously. What we promise is what we give. At UPDC, if you come and then you pay us, you are sure that come what may, you will get your product. And that's because we believe that long-term reputation of the company is much more than the short-term loss that we make from that money that we have sold to you. So what I would advise our fellow developers to do is to do a lot of risk management. Okay, if you're going to sell offline, make sure that a lot of the input, as Prinvest says, is an input and output. A lot of the input that goes into construction, you have locked down. So if you buy materials ahead, if you lock down, you have a big store and you store your materials, at least you know that with what you have purchased and what you have incurred, you can determine. If you have not done any of that and you have collected money from anyone, Nigeria may happen to you. And that's a very difficult situation to do. The last thing I will say on that is, before you purchase any property, as my sister here has said, get a good lawyer. Make sure that the force majeure clause in that contract does not give the developer the ability to walk away from the transaction when things go.
Thank you. Just my sister.
Yes, so my response is on the middle side, advising both sides. The major issue is about the contract, what the contract says. What the contract says from an off-plan situation, this is the price you pay. Now there's an issue of your buyer, if the buyer himself breaches payment plans, if you don't pay in accordance with what has been specified, there are issues that can come. So if you miss those payments, the price can be changed on you. However, there's the other part that says the developer must deliver on time. Now, if the developer themselves don't deliver in accordance with the time scale, then again we have the argument to say that your cost overruns have come as a result of your own errors. So you must know, make sure you have an advisor that's telling you how to protect yourself all along the way. It's a fact that once you don't deliver, I mean, look at the price volatility at the moment. Nobody can predict what's going to happen. And if I decide to sell at price X, and the price keeps going up, there will be a point where viability now starts disappearing. It is no longer a viable product. Then what do we do? Well, you must still sell. You must still sell. So there has to be real reasoning where the buyer will hedge themselves in such a way that they protect, either you pay off as quickly as possible, because it is inevitable that the prices in this kind of condition will keep rising.
Thank you. I think we've come to the end of this session.
Thank you very much to our stellar panel for answering our questions on navigating the regulatory landscape. Thank you very much. Once again, a very big round of applause for our panelists. Lagos. So nobody wants this dream, okay? We'd like to acknowledge our sponsors for this event. We'd like to acknowledge our headline sponsors, Adron Homes, our associate sponsor, Mixter Africa, Locust Group, Ubosi Ele & Co., UPDC, that's the USEN Property Development Company, for helping us to bring this to life. Once again, please help us recognize our sponsors with a big round of applause. For our next final session, it's the last but not least, we're talking about unlocking investment potential, real estate opportunities, and Naira devaluation. On this panel, we have Mr. Ebitu Ukiwe, the CEO of Locust Group. We have Mr. Obina Okonkwo, the Deputy CEO of Purple. We have Mr. Emeka D. Ele. He is the principal partner. For Business Day Online News Editor. Thank you very much. I welcome this panel on stage, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the last session, and I'm hearing it is the toughest session. Is that why the mic is not working properly? Nobody should offer a mic. They are not going to permit anyone to offer a mic here. Welcome to this session, and with me, I have Mr. Ebitu Ukiwe, Mr. Obina Okonkwo, and Mr. Emeka Ele. The session is about what has happened to the Naira and its effects, and then the opportunities that we can find in it. So I would say it's about like a talking drum. It faces some people and then it backs some people. Maybe an Osunday or Wendy kind of situation. Okay, so I have specific questions for everyone, and then I have questions that I would like all of my panelists here to weigh in on. So I will start with one of those that I would like all of you to weigh in on. But then, the panel is just for 45 minutes, so we'll have to be very fast and straight to the point. So that first question is that Naira devaluation is impacting negatively on investments generally. We all know that. But then, what opportunities does it present to investors in this sector? I'll leave anyone to start.
Well, he's giving me the mic. Let me start by saying that my name is Emeka Ele at the MCC, and I work with Ubosi Ele & Co. We're from a business development valuers. Coming to the question you raised, is Naira devaluation portends problems for both sides. Definitely it's a problem because costs are rising every day. And like the last question that the last panel dealt with, it's difficult for developers to keep up with the costs of projects. You know, for us in the advisory sector of the real estate sector, it's also difficult because one difficulty we have these days is telling property owners who are either selling or leasing
that their sale price or rent cannot rise in proportion to the Naira depreciation. People feel that if Naira has gone down and dollar has gone up, that in the same manner, their value should go up. It doesn't follow. It's not proportional in any way. But of course you can understand them, that a man who built a house or who was hoping to make $100,000 from his investment when he sells it, suddenly cannot realize $60,000. So he's more prone to say, look, increase the price to enable him achieve what he wants. But that, of course, is not practical, it's not possible. So it's a problem for all sides. But even in the midst of all this, the issue is to break down and look down. I have seen a scenario where, as bad as it is, there are some investments that still create opportunities for people who are very careful. I heard a lawyer talking about being very careful with your investment, talking to the lawyer. I would say talk to the right advisor. When it's a legal issue, talk to the lawyer. When it's a real estate, talk to a real estate person to be well advised. What we see is that when it comes to investing in real estate, there seems to be better appreciation or capital appreciation when you deal with land. You may be surprised. Land anywhere tends to appreciate the value more than anything else. So people are encouraged that look, wherever you see land that you can secure and hold, in the end, it may end up being a better investment than buying a flat in Ikoyi. Because in terms of appreciation, it's always good to see. Data shows that it's actually a lot more most times.
So can we now say that at this time, it is land that you should be focusing on instead of houses?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when you are investing at a time like this, you need to be extra careful. Extra careful because costs have gone up, Naira is depreciating, there are FX issues and regulatory issues to deal with. And so you have to be extra careful. I'm just saying that based on experience, land tends to hold out a lot better because if you buy land, once it's secure, you're not feeding the land, there's no further investment of the land. But by and large, and then the value of the land can triple or quadruple due to no effort of yours. Look at what has happened on the Lekki Expressway, for instance. People have bought a couple of years ago and values are just going up. And they keep going up because of investments in that area, not by the owner of the plot, but just by the system. From Dangote refinery to the government working on the road. So those are issues that people should look at. So all I'm saying is to be a lot more careful, when you're doing investment at this time.
Thank you very much. So would you want to weigh in on that? What are the opportunities in investing at this time? We know that it's a perilous time, Naira has devalued, and so material, cement, even cement that we do locally has gone up. How do we find that opportunity? Where is it?
I think we need to take a more holistic view on real estate and the role it plays in our economy before we can ask what is opportunities. Real estate all across the world is a store of wealth. All the wealth all of us have in this room, the first place you're going to store it in, you cannot do finance, is in real estate, right? 20% of the Chinese wealth is in real estate, which is why when the real estate sector had an issue, the Chinese government had to step in to back it up. 12% of the US GDP is real estate. Right now, they're having issues, about 1.5 trillion worth of debt has to be settled by regional banks. And there, the real estate people have got to go and told Biden, you have to come in and solve the problem for us, because we took rates from about 3 to almost double that. So it's almost equivalent to what we're having now, where you have rates jumping up and everybody's money is moving in that direction. So then, but they're reacting differently because it's a core sector of their economy. In ours, about 9.5% of our GDP is real estate. It's the fourth biggest sector and the second largest employer in terms of the value chain. So you can't afford to ignore it from a policy point of view or even from a player point of view. So the good thing about real estate is that it can absorb shocks depending on where you're playing. If today dollar is, depending on who you look at, 1516, people have already repriced their land. And I'll tell people land extraction at the time, William Buyer, William Seller. Some of people are emotive about it, but clearly nobody's going to sell his land at the value at which he bought it 2 years ago at today's market. You're not going to have it. So it stores your wealth there. The challenge for us is that it's affecting more of the demand side of the equation. Because when prices start going up, the price of cement has gone up from about 3K a couple of years ago to close to like 8 now. Price of iron rods, stone, everything has gone up to the roof. You're going to reevaluate your investment decision whether you want to continue your project, be it at the retail level or at the big level. And the challenge with that decision is the financing. And the problem with the financing is the cost of funds. So when the MPC is doing what they are doing currently, and banks are sending you text messages, we love you, you're a nice guy, we're going to talk 2% off of your transaction, you're going to be, you're going to rank whether, opportunity cost, whether you still want to go on that project. So the issue for us is, my view, is that if we need to unlock the opportunities that I see from the challenges, and the challenges are financing, how do we unlock a world solution, the demand side, how do we solve that problem, then the issues of waste, there's a lot of waste in the industry, a lot of waste. You see people who just remove scaffolds and dump it and let it start rusting. Meanwhile, somebody across the road needs that scaffold and looking for somebody to hire that to continue his project, right? You see people where the people at the retail end, they are doing small estates here and there, and they could have literally shared services to average their cost, but they're all working in silos. So the good thing about prices going up is that it forces all of us to be more efficient. It compels us to look at issues of waste and how we can turn those waste into profit incentives to keep things going. It compels us to look at other distribution factors like the previous speaker said about technology and people and etc. So I do not necessarily see this as a doomsday scenario as much as an opportunity for us to reevaluate how we're going to play the game going forward.
Thank you very much for those points that you have raised. I have seen pooling kind of making us work more efficiently, employing technologies and then shared services. I think we are onto something there. So I'll let Mr. Ebitu wait.
Yes. Thank you. I don't think there's too much more to add to what our colleagues here have said. To put a positive spin on the question being what are the opportunities for investors, is to say and to reiterate what he said about the importance of real estate in any economy, not just Nigeria. Any venture, any business has a real estate component to it. The devaluation of the Naira has meant that it's not in any investor's interest to keep money in Naira. It's in their interest to keep money in bricks and mortar, or in the case of dollar. Now, dollar's gone up so much that there has been disincentivizing people from investing more in dollar. Not that there's any fear from that per se, but in a local investor's case, it makes real estate much more attractive. Okay, I don't need to hold my money in Naira in a low-yielding fund or return fund. I can put it in bricks and mortar because real estate will hedge against inflation more than most asset classes. That's the nature of it. It will be slow, it will have a lag, and I suspect very strongly that a lot of the prices that we see here based on old building rates and so on are going to fade from the market, and there will be more price increases just because the floor has risen for real estate assets. And from the outside looking in, that will look like good returns for investors. There are many projects, demand and supply sensitive, of course, that have had good returns on average. Of course, a lot of investors will complain, I didn't make money on my project because of on my property investment because of dollar. And I've had to have arguments with some investors. No. Don't blame the real estate performance. Don't blame your returns on this real estate performance using dollar. Because if you peg anything against dollar, the entire country has gone under.
Meanwhile, if you look at your Naira for Naira investment in certain asset classes, it has performed strongly. And Mr. Emeka put it well, yes, land is the most basic raw material of real estate, so it retains the most. Bricks and mortar, you have to be more careful, more selective in what you buy, because values there differ from, of course, quality and lifestyle and how design and so on. So there is opportunity to put a good spin now in this current status of the economy, that instead of any other asset class, real estate is a strong option for investors.
Thank you very much. You have helped us to put this in perspective. So now I want to go to Mr. Emeka with the next question. We have spoken extensively. Everyone has mentioned cement inputs rising as one of the biggest elephants in the room. But now, what exactly is the issue with these materials, especially that cement, which has significant local content in terms of raw material manufacturing? We dig it from our soil there. I can mention so many places that we're taught in primary school where we find limestone. So why is it going out of the roof?
Thank you very much. That's a tough question, but I'm sure that between Mr. Dangote and Alhaji Dangote and Bua, they can answer that better. But the truth is that we always mistake cement for limestone. I mean, the guys those who produce the cement, limestone is a factor of cement production. But beyond that are the other items, the equipment, the machinery, the logistics, which have all gone up. I mean, more often than not, I feel sorry for the manufacturers. The average manufacturer, a lot of them are surviving, just managing to survive, because there are other issues they have to deal with every day. And the truth is that if they don't increase the price, they have to close shop. That's the truth. Because if you can't replace the item you sold, then it means the inventory is gone. You go back to your village. I was so a friend of mine told me about his cousin who sold 10 units in Lekki in December at 95 million naira, Lekki right hand side. But he's crying today because he can't replace the house. It's not possible. I mean, so if you look at the cement manufacturers, for instance, yes, the price of cement have gone up, but believe me, my own take is that they are adjusting the price with the market, so that when equipment go high, they can bring it in. When they have problems here and there, they can deal. Some way the airlines are increasing their own costs. I mean, why would a flight to Abuja be 150,000 naira? It's the same plane APC is using and Harry can work. They haven't bought new planes. But then they have issues to deal with in terms of logistics, in terms of costs that they must deal with. You know, so beyond cement price, the actual cement, beyond limestone, are the other issues that go to manufacturing. And I tell you, it's a bigger issue that the country needs to deal with regards to the manufacturing sector. Because the logistics constraints that they go through, from multiple taxation to police harassment to all manner of things. And of course, to the fact that beyond that limestone, for instance, every other thing they use are important. I mean, if you look at the average house, our friend from UPDC have spoken. I mean, what is the important component of the average house? So some people will say, after all, it's just brick and mortar cement. Yeah, but beyond the limestone, most other things are important, and it's a problem which the government needs to deal with on a holistic basis.
Thank you very much. In fact, that word that is the phrase that is in my brain now is it is beyond limestone. I have been seeing it as a problem of limestone before. Thank you for putting that in perspective. So, do you want to weigh in on that before we go to the next talking point?
I think that yes, it's beyond limestone. But then I tell people that in the long term, government will bear this cost. You can't run away from it. Because you build roads, you use cement, you paint, you increase minimum wage. So any adverse price increase that goes up in the short term, the people at the lower end of the economy will pay. But in the long term, the government will carry it. Because they are the lender or fiscal whatever last resort. So eventually it goes back to them. But more importantly is that because it goes back to them, they have to be part of the solution, and urgently. Because the cement alone is 30% of the cost of any building project you're doing. So imagine 30% of your cost profile going up by 80%. It's significant. So in my view, the way to deal with the problem is to look at how the industry is structured. We all know that there are no more than 3 or 4 big players in that space. How do we incentivize them to do more? How do we make it more competitive? Because bring about competition, bring about price discovery. I do not necessarily believe that prices are going up because the inputs have gone up because they're important, right? A lot of the way cement is manufactured, a lot of the components you need have to be in situ. From the power that you need, you have to produce your own power, additives. But I think the manufacturers are looking ahead in the future and saying, where is this price going to? Therefore, the future replacement cost for some of this is not factored into today. Not necessarily mean that those things are going to happen in next year, right? But you've already factored in that at $1.60 the dollar, this is what's going to be for the next 2 or 3 years. And everybody on Binance is saying dollar will get to 2.5. So we're all heading in the same direction. Meanwhile, there's no reality to it. If you ask my opinion, Naira should not more than 750. And this is my reason why. If you look at the state of our economy over the last, I would say, 10 months, there's nothing significant that has changed in this economy within the last 10 months. Nothing. But the exchange has more than doubled in the value, right? Therefore, it is the expectation and the anxiety and uncertainty that is feeding that frenzy. It's not necessarily the realities on ground. It's like when you look at a car that you drive, your Lexus that you that kind of and if you see the car in the morning with a flat tire, you're not going to price it properly. But if you inflate the tire, you will price, but nothing has changed. The engine hasn't changed. So fundamentally, nothing fundamentally in our economy has changed. Aside, there's always been insecurity. There's always been food shortages. It is the anxiety of expectation and the volatility on the policy side of the economy that's causing people to hedge. And by hedging, they are taking future bets. And everybody is not relying on those bets as an indicator and an indicator to reprice your product. Meanwhile, in the reality of it, nothing fundamentally has changed. And by the time we all come back to our senses, the people that are taking a long position, well, will prevail.
Thank you very much. I'll still come back to you on that because I have a question for you on how to manage this evolving risk. But before we go on that, would you want to weigh in on that or should I? Okay.
Yes. First to say the major contributing factors to inflation has been energy costs. I think it was raised in one of the earlier panels. And like Mr. Emeka said, you don't have to have certain raw materials necessarily go up at the same rate. A rising cost of energy is the tide that lifts all boats. This is why there's higher costs in agriculture and food produce as well. It's not necessarily because farmers are charging more or anything. Transport costs for materials have gone up. Now, energy costs, this is also kind of an imported inflation. We're bringing it a little bit to geopolitics, the war in Ukraine, sanctions against Russia, and so on, are part of the originating factors of these heavy inflationary effects. Interest rates went up. Empirically, that has certainly also affected Nigeria and the Naira's ability to sustain its debt, foreign debt payments, which had again a devaluating effect on the Naira. So, with what inflation, identifying the source of our inflation is important to understand how we can put in policies to guard against that inflation. I won't go too much over what people have spoken about in previous panels about local production, price controls, and so on, but those are the fiscal decisions that are going to get us a lower effect of inflation. Unfortunately, I do not imbibe the idea that the MPR rate increase has had any deflationary effect. It's certainly not at our rate and not at our level of financialization, which is very shallow. Sorry, I'm switching into another topic, but it is related.
in as much as to say our inflation is by factors that we have to identify to control.
Thank you very much. So you don't want us to claim it on the MPC per se?
No, I think there is clearly going to be, in fact, an inflationary effect of higher rates because, again, any developers ourselves, will have to pay more to the banks. You have to pay, it costs you more. Interest rates are, we don't have a high credit economy, but you can see anywhere that is impacted. Mortgage rates, of course, it was never competitive anyways, but that has not going to help the demand side of real estate, not at all. So again, the monetary policy agenda to increase interest rates as a tool to reduce inflation has always been a blunt instrument, which, in my opinion, not helping growth in this economy.
Okay, so we'll save that conversation for another day. So let me go to that question that I want to ask Mr. Onuko. What strategies should be employed to manage evolving risks in order to remain in business?
Because you need to identify the risk and dimension them and then put them on the head. On the financing side of the equation, which is the bigger one, we have to find a way to bring longer term instruments to the market. And we have the repository of funds.
Longer term instruments?
Yes. Let me explain. So
let's be granular.
Yeah. So the biggest repository of funds in the country now is the pension funds. But less than about 1.5% of those that assets is invested in real estate. Is not really creating an economic value as well as so things are concerned. So how do you unlock that into the market? The nature of the instruments that you bring to the market and how the people on the pension side of the equation understand those instruments with a desire to go in. Because most of their analysts are usually used to short-term instruments because a lot of them came from the banking sector where we do 90-day, 180-day instruments. So if you look at if you go to FMBQ and you look at the amount of 5-year instrument that we issue vis-a-vis CPs, you can see the CP market is growing faster. That shows you where the attention is. But you cannot build real estate using 90-day, 180-day money. It can't work. You have to do 5-7-year instruments. And tie it to the future, and a way to do that for my is to blend instruments. So if you have a blend of instruments that you have one that's doing 20 something, another one that's doing 10 or so, that's looking at you, doing another income, you put them all together, you should have a basket that you can tap into that will bring money to the sector and then give big players who will now pass on the benefits of that lower cost to lower pricing and the sector boom. So that's on the finance side. On the construction side, we need to do a lot of more, a lot more synergies among the mid-time, mid-tier, and smaller players. Like I said before, shared services, right? We need to be able to explore opportunities where, why can't we all come together and put these resources together and then utilize them and pass it around. That way, you save a lot of money. We also need to invest in governance structures. A lot of businesses take one man, they're big businesses, but they're one man taking decisions. And if you don't have proper governance and people advising you on your board, you can't have a longer term view. And like somebody said in the previous panel, where the UPDC guy says, I'm looking at the long term and how to manage my customers now and manage expectations. So we need to invest in that as well. The second to last one is the tech space. We need to invest seriously in tech and see that as a way of enhancing value in the real estate space, as a way of distributing real estate space. We are building something we call purple fractions that enables people with 10,000 naira to invest in multi-billion naira projects. But for us to build that, we also need to invest time, energy, resources, and so on. But we need to start seeing tech as an enabler It enables us to track efficiency and all. And then lastly, we need to invest in our people. You know, a lot of people come up on Facebook, you know, see a graduate leave, say, after I invest, what are you doing? I'm into real estate. What is real estate? Buy and sell. Are you selling banana? What's going on here? And they don't understand the intricacies of that, you know. But you cannot take them away. If you want to rent a property now in Lagos, it's those young guys that are going to find one. My chairman here doesn't have your time. You deal with people like me. But for those small guys in the room, those small guys, and they will send you posts. So I saw someone over the weekend, a friend of mine in the UK wanted to get an apartment for her sister. And I sent it to one of the big four, and I sent it to one real estate person. And I was getting pictures almost every from the real estate guy. The other thing I sent proposals, story, you know. But one thing hit me: a 3-bedroom on this Lekki axis going for almost 5-point-something million, and the service charge. But that same 3-bed in Yaba is less than 2.5. And then I'm a Sulere guy, so I've now moved to Lekki. But my point is that the facilities in Sulere are even better in a way than facilities in Lekki. It's not something goes to Sulere. There are multiple from Ijesha to you know now. Well, like once you enter that room, so you see that a lot of times, and it goes to there, there's a lot of redevelopment going on there as well. So a lot of times people want to stay with themselves, with the people that we believe that we are in. So those guys also deal with those millennials that are playing real estate, but we need to train them. Because if you can train them to appreciate what real estate involves and the value chain there is, a lot of them can even go into cement supply. They can use their water to create cement water group. And you know, there's a lot of things that we, so if we do all of those five, I think.
Thank you very much. I'm also a real estate agent. I have been just outside. Okay, now, so the first part of your answer fixes well into the question I was about to ask Mr. Editu. So I'll just go ahead and ask him, then we'll go around again for the final part. So we're about having just about 5 minutes left on the time here. So that question is, what financing options are available for both local and foreign investors looking to enter or expand their investment portfolio in Nigeria real estate market?
Sorry, just to clarify your question, what financing options to finance real estate or to...
on both sides.
On both sides?
Yes, on both sides.
I mean, on the buying side, we know the status of or the condition of our current mortgage market. It is not conducive for buying real estate, not for most. The biggest reason being its interest rates. Any interest rates, real interest rates that gets to the end user of a mortgage buyer is typically double digit. That's if he even qualifies for it in the first place. So we do have problems there. I do believe that the government needs to have a holistic strategy for the economy that is centered around more economies, their real estate bonds and government-backed bonds. Now, we need to deepen that in Nigeria. We need to establish a big financial instrument that will grow the mortgage market. And that mortgage market will grow the supply side almost automatically because we know the demand is there. So once we can really attack the buy side of financing real estate, the boom will even be too much. We will probably have to regulate ourselves and say, okay, well, let's not make too much money out of this. But it's the unfortunate truth. We've talked about how much homes everybody needs. it's been going on for decades. So every year we estimate 10% more we need, So, the mortgage side. I believe it was the Federal Mortgage Bank's new policy and rates, and they increased the capital requirements is a good step, but it is not competitive in what is effectively a private sector-led investor market. An investor would not going to want to buy into a single-digit mortgage bond or a real estate bond when he can buy into a double-digit CP or any of those other instruments. So it's not easy, it's not a straightforward fix, but I do believe that holistically, top-down, our interest rates need to come down. They need to come down enough to finance real estate, and there needs to be bonds and assets, valuable real estate. I'll go into another extension of this point, which is the valuation of certain real estate assets in Nigeria, as whether they might be non-performing or performing. We talked a little earlier in the earlier panels about some areas that don't necessarily have intrinsic value or activity value. There will need to be discernment into the kind of assets that will go into a bond. But once that is done, the government can regulate the interest rates through central bank and other policies, and hopefully market will support the buy side, and then I think financing real estate will be there.
Thank you very much. So, let's, as we go into the last round of questions, you can add, if you have some more input on that financing strategies, you can add it. But that last question.
So, when it comes to financing, right, the key to financing is risk perception. The more people perceive you're risky, the higher the rates they demand of you. That's the risk reward. One way to do that is to de-risk the sector. Now, if NMRC, like they do mortgage finance, which is a good, come and say, you know what, any mortgage that this mortgage guys creates, and we are sure of the owners and goods, we can refi it and give you bulk money and take that off you and hold on to those cash flows. By the time you begin to bring those kind of solutions to the market, you're de-risking the stuff, because you know that if I package 1 billion naira worth of mortgages, I can collect cash, I can discount collect cash, and then pass on the thing, whatever.
So it still comes back to the government?
Not necessarily the government, as much as
who will do the de-risking?
See, government has two levels of government. There's the politics, there's the institutions. Now those institutions are various. There's the CPN, there's the NMRC, there's the Family Housing Fund. There are various levels of institutions that have various roles to play in those real estate. But they are doing it, but they need to now step up their game. I need to think big. We're a $500+ billion economy. It is too big for you to be thinking it's only in Lagos. It is massive. From Kaduna to Jos by road, for 3.5 hours of that travel is still Kaduna. It's how big. Meanwhile, from Lagos to Ore is 3 hours. You get the perspective?
Yes.
So if you don't see Nigeria as a massive real estate thing, and that real estate covers not just residentials, it covers warehouses for farm products, it covers hotels, it covers tourist destinations. It is massive, not just residential side of it. If you need to put those into pockets and build incentive that gives the mortgage companies an opportunity to offload them rather than keeping it on their books for a long time, you risk it. Once you risk it, the interest starts trending down. I mean, MPC is 24. That doesn't mean that 22. That doesn't mean that when the federal government wants to sell the federal government instrument, they're going to sell it 22. There are 15 instruments that are lower rates. There are 5 instruments that are lower. Why are they lower? Because people believe that the federal government cannot default. I mean, so we have to create that sense of that scenario within our space that no matter what bond you bring in that is mortgage backed, they cannot be default. When they no default, you build confidence. When you build confidence, interest rates go down.
Thank you very much. I think we should expand on the de-risking, but not with this time we have now. But we'll talk about it later.
Thank you. Let me just talk a bit about financing. I mean, I agree with what has been said with regards to the role of government to bring down the rates. But the government has too many problems. I mean, and I'm sure if you look at the budget for housing for this year, real estate was not a priority. For obvious reasons. They have too many problems to deal with. So bringing down the mortgage rates to a level that can be managed, I don't know how long that will take. But that's ideas, that's what we expect. Whether through an intervention or what should be done, but I really don't know how it can be done as we want. But I always worry that, look, part of the challenge with this system is that we always forget that the informal market in Nigeria is much bigger than the government. The informal market in this country is much, much bigger than the government can do. And therefore, I've seen platforms in England where people do developments outside the banking system. I mean, it may actually be easier because as of today, even with the MPC being raised to 24%, I mean, if you put your money in first bank, you probably won't get more than 10%. You probably won't get more than 11%, if you're lucky. You can actually get 10, 15, 20 people and say, look, put down 100 million naira. I'll pay you 15% guaranteed on this whatever. It goes back to the confidence he talked about. Are you able to garner the confidence level that people will trust you? Because like I said, the informal market, there are those boys, those people who can spend 500 million without holding board meetings, like a lot of us do, without having to confer with anybody. And that money exists in the system. The challenge is that people don't take time to build the necessary structure to assess it. Because you have to build the structure, you have to create the confidence, you have to create what people will look at. So if you're saying you're going to do APC, what have you done before? Or where did you start from? Not just that you want to do, but where are you coming from? So I think a lot more can be done in that area. Not necessarily to help ourselves, but also to help the government. Because like I said, the government has too many problems. And I'm not sure they're looking that way. Coming to the issue my colleague talked about with regards to how do you de-risk, what more do you do in the sector to bring down prices? Again, I will talk about the issue of efficiency. How do we become more efficient in construction? I tell you, a lot of time when I look at some projects, I marvel at what people do. I went to see one 2 days ago. There are, when we were in school, you are told that when you are doing a big project, your designs must go through quality engineering. You must have a different architect, one or two, review whatever design you have, just to bring that, to look at those areas they can shave off to save cost. But a friend of mine took me the project 2 days ago, and he said when he got to the house eventually, he was screaming, why did the architect make him to build this? I said, but the man gave you a design, he didn't look at it. He said, how did the architect expect you to look at, to know what he had designed? So it was after they had built that he started knocking down, doing APC. So I encourage people, whatever project you want to do, take time. My own idea normally is that when you give me a design, I keep it by the side of my bed. And I'll keep looking at it every night for a long while. And I tell you, each night I look at it, I make some notes. I'll go back to the architect, he brings it back. I will go over it over and over again. But if you don't want to do that because you don't have the training, get another architect. Pass it through 1, 2, 3. You will be shocked the kind of savings you will make because when buildings become more efficient, costs will naturally come down. In the early days of Abuja, the impression was that if you don't finish your house with marble of granite, that the market won't take it. That's not true. The market is taking neat designs that are, if it's tiling, let the tile be properly laid. The challenge is that even if you use granite and the tile is laid this way, people can take it. And therefore, driving efficiency in the system from point of view of design, from point of view of material, not necessarily very expensive material. Even if you go get the local tiles here and are properly laid, the market will still take it. But the challenge is that because of lack of proper workmanship, you're talking of regulations, even workmen in this country are not regulated. Even the tilers or the plumbers, everybody is on his own. And so we do have a lot of problems. We're talking of what we import. We even import tilers, we import people who plaster walls.
Thank you very much.
And that's a big problem.
If we go into that, we will not leave here today. Well, thank you very much for your input so far. And I will now leave the floor to people in the audience who have questions for the last 5 minutes of the discourse. Please send in your questions, okay? You can actually ask from there. Can we get a mic to him?
My name is Joseph. My question goes like this. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Joseph. My question goes like this. What is the best investment in this economy that we find ourselves in? Is it land or house? Thank you.
Okay, we want you to take just 2 more. Okay, so we take the man with the cap and the woman first is international women's month. So we take her and then the man with the cap.
All right, good afternoon, sir. My question is to you. You mentioned something about efficiency and pricing, and I'm trying to relate how proportional that efficiency and pricing works together. You said if we want to reduce the cost, we should be more efficient, and you talked about we looking at around for like 3 different architects, and I know all those things will come at a price. So how can that reduce the cost of the buildings rather than it will increase? So thank you.
Okay, so the last, the man in the car.
Hi, good afternoon. I just wanted to find out in terms of, I know that I think last year, 2 years ago, the federal mortgage bank increased the minimum, increased the minimum equity contribution. So I wanted to find out the success rate, if we know if people have accessed it and how that's gone and all that.
Okay, so let's now answer the questions. This one is the one that was first asked. What is the best investment? Is it land or... So, you want to go first?
I'll go first.
Then he goes to the question.
So the best investment depends on how much you want, how much you have to pay. If you have 10,000 naira, I advise you go to any related social products or fractions that you are building and invest there. And you want to, so the way it works is that you invest 100,000 naira, you are more maybe 1,000 other owners of a multi-billion naira project, and when they do a distribution, it cascades down to you proportional to what you go. So that way you can play. If you have anything from 50 million naira and above, you can invest in land depending on the location. But like I said, value line is about location, right? Make sure you get the value right, make sure you get the right lawyers and pay them well so that they will advise you well, and then mark up your documentation and go. If you have that region as well, there are properties you can buy. And if you want to buy them, there are mortgages available. There are a lot of mortgage companies that are out there that will give you finance, but it's going to be expensive off the back of already built property. So if you're doing an investment, then obviously you're looking to flip it and sell and exit at some point. So you have to factor in the cost of the mortgage, what you want to do. And if you have much more than that, there are locations in Ikoyi, in Lekki One, that you can also invest. So it depends on your price point and entry point and what you need to do. I mustn't only invest in Lagos. I've known people that don't invest in Enugu and they've made very good money. If you want to invest in a state, my own is look at the infrastructure. Any state that has an airport, that has like an interconnect to other cities, is more likely to have a value than someone that don't have those infrastructure, but that's what goes down. If you go to Maraba in Abuja, it's not Abuja, it's Nasarawa. But people have investments there and they are living on the back of Abuja. So it depends on what you're looking at. The other question on
efficiency, balance.
That's the answer. The other one on the third one. Yes, so NMRC they've engaged the pension fund administrator and others, and they've increased. So the equity contribution is more or less the same, but they've increased the amount you can access. So rather than access about 5 or I think it's about 30% of your. I'm not sure of the exact figure, but I think I had a meeting with the MD for that session 3 days ago. I spoke about they increased their simple amount. The challenge that even though that increase started and is available, given rate of inflation, where you're better off, but you're not almost as there. So if depending on your contribution, if you want to buy a property that's worth 20 million naira, and you have to put down 30% of that, and depending on how much you've saved up, you still have a bit of way to go, right? So the way you should put whatever you have now, access what you have, put it on the table, tell 50% of the value, put that aside, go to a mortgage company, tell them that's your equity contribution, bunch it together, refinance it, just and move on. Sorry. Lastly, there's the family housing fund that's taken off. Family housing fund, Google it, and their job is to provide funding for retail homeowners, and they've started doing that. I know they had a meeting with us at Couple about 2 weeks ago. So I think you should also do that. They're also available and provide.
Thank you very much. So let's have the answer to the how balancing efficiency with cost.
Yes, with regards to efficiency, I must tell you that just because somebody just moved away, didn't want to do the right thing. So because you're going to pay an structural engineer maybe 100,000 or 500,000, you decide not to pay him, you start the project, the building collapses. And it's always amazing because across the world, investment in a house is the most important investment a family can make generally. So I keep wondering, why do you do without taking the proper advice, professional advice? The issue is that if you actually review the design very well and do what I've told you, by and large, and cut those vague areas, those opaque areas that you can. If you go to England and Europe, the designs are straightforward, they are box-like. Why do they build that way? Because it's cheaper and more efficient. But here, you can have an architect who is trying his design skills, and the roof is undulating, the walls are, it costs you far more to build. Meanwhile, all you're looking for is a home, a functional home that you can manage. So I repeat that it's better for you to cheaper. If you have to pay another architect or talk to him, you're still better having the design reviewed to remove all those cost areas that are not necessary. I mean, average units abroad, Europe or America, every space is used. There is no space you don't find useful. Every space, there's no waste in whatever form. And that's what we need to achieve locally here. And I'm sure it's achievable. Coming to the issue of what is the best investment, if I may just add to what my brother said. I mean, talked about derivatives, which they are very good at, where you can invest small amount of money and become part of a pool. But why the issue of land is, why I keep talking about the issue of land is that the entry point is very low. Depends on where you want to invest in. You mustn't buy land in Ikoi or in Kenya, or you can buy anywhere. I mean, like you said earlier on, real estate as a word remains the asset class of choice across the world. And again, it's also the most understood asset class because a lot more people understand what it means and what it takes. So, land, low entry point. So long as you can secure it, keep it, you're not feeding it. If you don't have title, pursue a title if you can. But believe me, in the end, you're better off. But rather than keep your money and say you're waiting until you buy a flat in Ikoi or a flat in Kenya, please do something. The key is do something. Because over time, you will always reap the benefits.
Thank you very much. Well, I'll make a phone call to my village. Give the land for me. Okay, so the last question now. Still hold on to that. The last question is, what are your thoughts on tokenization of real estate as an asset class to mitigate the devaluation of Naira, considering the dearth of regulatory protection or framework in Nigeria?
Okay, if I am to understand tokenization, I would interpret, define it as a unitization of real estate. Probably on the right track. So, equivalent to, you buy into a fund equivalent to 1 square meter or to 1 unit and so on. That's definitely very advantageous for the industry and for some support to the Naira, in the sense that it opens up, it lowers the barrier to entry into real estate. So more people can invest in real estate and own a piece of a property, and that's tailored to their investment. However, it doesn't necessarily operate as a stock and bond fund. Sometimes people at this point, every fund or token issuer is still subject to their self-regulation unless that is a listed fund or have a public overseeing it as the case may be. And unfortunately, there are not too many of those, but I believe that is part of our discussion here is to find a way to drive into more of a financialization of real estate in forms of mortgage or equity REITs or similar type of funds. As long as, again, they are very well understood that they are not necessarily mutual funds, because people want to put 500K into the real estate fund today and I want it out in 30 days. To Obina's point, they need long-term fixes to yield, and the basic yield is lower than fixed return, but with capital returns you can be more competitive. So that structure needs to be understood to help any real estate fund or tokenization or unitization of real estate to function in the best possible way, I think.
Thank you very much for that fine point. And lastly, we'll have a brief from...
Yeah, so tokenization is better than doing Binance of real estate. So because not a lot of us do crypto. Because crypto is not backed by any assets per se, it's backed by the scarcity of the NFT or the algorithm that led to the blockchain that led to that. So if the only X number of Bitcoins issued, then the value will go up because the only X number of Bitcoin issued. So real estate, what we have done is follow the steps. So we have a SEC-regulated entity in Popo asset managers that are going to manage the thing. We also have real estate assets as backing it so that you see the asset and you can link it. But this simple thing it does is that it draws those pension funds that are stuck on the other side but retail into the real estate space. So if you tokenize, UPDC can then to issue a token and use that to unlock value in the real estate and move on to the next project. But you have to have a structure that's approved by SEC that ensure that that income cascades down to everybody. So if you buy a token for, let's say, 10,000 naira, and you're getting a particular yield, particular return every year, you compare that return to what you bought GTP and how much GTP your asset bank is paying you as dividend yield. So far as the yield is going up or yield is high, the value of the token goes what? Up. So if you want to resell to another person, you're not going to say that the value you bought it, because that person will now carry on the rights to those dividends that you're getting to himself. Therefore, the value of the token now goes up. And because it's backed by a physical asset, it can't collapse the way crypto will collapse. Because the value of real estate, every year you do revaluation. So whatever my other tells me that he's come and does that this is the value of the estate now, we've done another valuation this year, this is the value that this commercial property is worth now. You put that value aside, you put the cash flows that property also brings to you, what's distributed to your treasury, that you now come up with a value, right? So even if the cash flows come down, the value of the asset itself is still there, so you have some kind of protection. But what it does is that it brings the retail market and gives them opportunity to also invest in real estate. Otherwise, if they don't have $1 million or so, they won't be able to pay.
Thank you very, very much for explaining that to us. And I must appreciate everyone that has been on this panel, Mr. Ele, Mr. Onoko, and Mr. Ebitu. Thank you very much. We have reached conclusion on so many points, but we have also raised questions on so many fronts too. So let us continue this conversation. You can tag us on Business Day at businessday.ng on all social media platforms, and we can continue that conversation there. Thank you very much.
Quite an interesting panel. A big thank you to Mr. Emeka Ele of Gossip Ele and Co. Mr. Obina Umunkwo, the Deputy CEO of Purple, Mr. A.P. Kiwe, CEO of Locust Group, and also our moderator, Mr. Teki Bangosh. He is the Business Day online news editor. So we will be closing now. I want you to please give a round of applause to our panelists for this amazing session. I want to thank you all for your participation through the course of this event. My name is Elizabeth Musa, and it's been a delight being your MC for this ceremony. You have been such a delightful audience, and I would like you all to please give yourselves a round of applause. We're now going to do an applause marathon. But before then, I would like you all to please thank with us our sponsors for this event. They've been very amazing. Without them, we wouldn't have had this event. So we'd like to thank our sponsors for this event. We'd like to thank Adron Homes, Mixter Africa, Locust Group, Bugossi Ele and Co, and UPDC for partnering with us to bring this event to life. So like I said, we're going to do a quick marathon, applause marathon. Did you enjoy each of the panels? If you did, please give the panelists a round of applause, please. Did you also enjoy this conference? If you did, this Business Day and the sponsors a round of applause. Did I also do a good job? If I did, please give me a round of applause. On this note, we have come to the end of this event, and I do hope that this has been a productive use of your time. I hope that you all leave here with transformative ideas that you will reflect as we make great change in Nigeria's real estate sector. Thank you to each and every one of you. On this note, we will now have a closing address. We want to thank you all for coming, and we wish you safe journeys back to your home. Thank you very much.